tape, bro. Run the 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 tape, run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Film guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We doing a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape.
The
Shut up
tape.
and grind.
Let's grind.
Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro.
Shut up and grind.
Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape.
Shut up and grind.
Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro. Run the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What?
What in the world?
Are we live?
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
my bad. I didn't see the camera move, so I didn't know. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening. Don't shake your head at me. I'm a little rusty.
No, I'm not shaking my head at you. It's the camera.
Oh, yeah, the camera.
I pressed the button and it didn't move.
I pressed the thing, and the thing didn't do its job.
Technology.
Love that. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. We got some more spring game news for you guys tonight. I am actually going to unload part one of our Covert Campus Tour notes. All right, so I'm going to unload some ball knowledge on you guys tonight. I'm going to unload some life knowledge on you guys tonight. Some things that have impacted my life over the last 2 or 3 weeks on this journey. Excited to bring those to you guys tonight. Mike Norvell saying, hey, I love the media, but y'all get the hell out of my football program. I ain't never come back. All right, so we're going to talk about that tonight as well. And there is a unique take about the offseason so far this offseason that Kirby is going to unload on you guys tonight. But I wanted to start with this. This program has gone through a lot of changes doing this content creation stuff, all right? I've had half a dozen different studios, if you'll call them that, over this journey. I wouldn't call them that. I would call that a garage and some 2x4s that I put up in my garage. I would call that an extra spare bedroom that my second child hadn't taken over yet. All right. There have been multiple different iterations of how this product has looked and how it has felt over the last few years. We've even changed styles of content, right? We've changed hours. We've moved a lot of things on you guys, but no change on this network was bigger, in my opinion, than deciding to bring 2 other people into the mix and allow them to have a microphone and a voice on this platform. For 4 years on this network, I was a solo show, man. I was a solo act. It was lonely. It was a grind. It was pretty fulfilling, I'll be honest with you, being the only guy with the glory. But I certainly enjoyed having a microphone by myself every single day with a camera, right? And it just being me and you guys. And when I decided to bring J. Will and Kirby onto this network and onto the show, I was a little nervous, to be honest with you. I certainly think a lot of myself. Obviously, I think you guys have noticed that throughout the years. I'm very confident in my abilities and all that good stuff. And there was a part of me that thought, Hey man, people come to the network for me. That's what they're here for, right? And that was arrogance. That was whatever you call it, self-love for myself, and a little bit too much confidence in my own work. I was nervous to bring two new voices, two different opinions that might not be wanted. I didn't know if you guys and how they would be received. And I think at first there was a bit of hesitation from you guys in the audience. Who are those two dweebs talking with Brooks was actually something that was brought up quite a bit at first, but I got to tell you, man, watching Thursday's show from a distance and watching the two guys go at it, or have a show by themselves, I got to be honest, I was really, really proud. Not just proud, guys, of the work that you did, but it wasn't just me thinking that you guys did a great job. It was the audience as well. I went back and looked at the numbers, man. We had our best show in weeks in terms of views. Whoa. We had a 24-minute retention rate for you two jamokes. 24 minutes, the average viewer watched these two guys talk football. Okay, that is incredible. When I first started this network, guys, the retention rates that I bragged about were 12 minutes. You guys doubled. Okay, this network without the film guy rolled last week. So I want to go ahead and do this. I want to give the boys 3. Don't you even dare clap. It's me and the audience alone. Hey, let's give them 3. Boys, super proud of the work you did while I was gone. Honestly, I don't normally watch shit when I'm not a part of it. That's just me. This is the way I am. I can't stand listening to other people talk because I immediately was like, that's wrong. That's wrong. I need more. Like, I'm coaching the person. I didn't do much coaching, boys. And even if I did, y'all were right there to correct things that you wanted to correct. Like, prime example, somebody said something about USC's recruiting at the quarterback position. Missed. And I'm like, wait a minute. They signed a five-star Hassan Longstreet. Boom. Jay Will immediately, except for Hassan Longstreet, he got his guy. So, boys, y'all did a great job Thursday. And I'm sure over the next 3-4 weeks, months, whatever, there'll probably be another opportunity for you guys to solo. So I just wanted to open with that, man. I thought Thursday was like I knew I chose the right guys. Thursday, I was like, nah, shit, they got something with them. So much so that I think we're going to change some of the things that we do around here and how we do them.
Sweet. Thanks, man. Glad to keep it running smoothly.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's always good when we're sitting here in the studio. I think it was even between show breaks, like between the national hour and the local hour, where you're like, man, I feel like we're doing a good job. I feel like we're really honing in on our points and doing a good job. And then that felt reciprocated. So that's always a good feeling from you and everybody else. So yeah,
it's the weirdest thing about content production. You can feel like you did your best show ever. But the results are the results, right? And they show up how they show up with regards to the to the viewership. Yeah, man, I can't express how proud I am that this solo show has now become a threesome. Hey, yo.
Pause.
Welcome in. We got a great show for you guys playing tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, and review. And if you miss any portion of today's broadcast, it will be made readily available, however, wherever you get your podcast. We got a great show for you guys playing tonight. We're going to pick three teams you think will make their first college football playoff appearance in 2025. There's something unique about the offseason so far. Kirby's going to unload that one on you guys. I have notes for my football pilgrimage, part 1. Mike Norvell going in reverse with the media. We'll talk a little bit about that. A little bit of a macro discussion there with regards to the relationship between football teams and their media. We may get to that one. I don't know. Syracuse and Colorado making the show notes tonight for a spring football little showdown. They might be getting together with one another. Actually, I think Fran said, I'll do it. We're going to see if they actually do it. So we're going to bring that to you guys tonight. And we're going to define success for 4 big-time college football programs tonight, and might have a debate on best green unis in honor of St. Patty's Day.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead and pinch that little dude over there. Go ahead and pinch him. He ain't wearing green. Your undies green?
He doesn't have green on.
Bullshit. Look at his undershirt. Pay attention.
I can't see the undershirt.
Pay attention. Come on, man. Lock in.
Bogus holiday.
It is, I will say.
Bogus.
As a fellow Irishman, I do think St. Patrick's Day is overrated, but
yeah,
we don't have to get into that. This isn't a St. Patrick's Day show.
Was St. Patrick actually indeed him?
He drove the snakes out of Ireland with a flute. Or whatever.
That sounds kind of himmy. You know what I mean? You out here clearing a whole country full of snakes with your flute.
I don't even know if that's true.
You out here wilding.
He did drive the snakes out. It might not have been with a flute.
Good for him.
I might have gotten him and the Pied Piper mixed up.
Hey, let's start with this. Anytime a show sheet has a take on it, Clear the lane. Let's hear the take, brother.
I'll go to ISO.
Oh, shoot. Oh! Call out. Hold up the ones. Let's go. What do you got for me?
everyone? All right, we've reached the point of the offseason where the dramatic takes are coming, and they're here, full-fledged. Sports ruin, skies falling. It's only a matter of time before Paul Feinbaum fires someone else. But there's one real set of takes that have kind of been absent from this year's offseason, I've noticed. Now, it might just be me. I might be out of touch, but I feel like I'm more involved in college football Twitter and online takes and Google and all that. Where are all of the insane fans making declarations that my team is going to go undefeated this year and win the national championship, or my quarterback, my running back, my so-and-so is going to win the Heisman, is going to be the greatest football player ever? I feel like we have a lot of opportunity for this to happen. I mean, Notre Dame, you just had your best season in 20 years. You beat Georgia and Penn State in the playoff on the way to a national title appearance. Ohio State just went on the self-proclaimed greatest run in college football history. You're not hearing anything about a two-peat from there or a repeat national title. South Carolina missed the playoff by a questionable roughing the passer call. There's not really a lot of buzz around them. I mean, it can go on and on. Texas has a Manning at quarterback right now. He is the starting quarterback, and I feel like you have all these fan bases kind of quietly saying, oh, we're very excited for the offseason to come. We're looking forward to this year, but it's not, we're going 16-0. We're going to beat everyone. No one's got a chance. Now, I get why it's happening. Rev share, NIL, transfer portal, all of that's really spread the playing field out to the fact where everyone is kind of level. Teams are better than they once were. Opponents' schedules are harder.
But that's rational talk you got going on right there.
That's
fans
what I'm saying. I don't get it. It seems like college football fans have gotten so much more rational, and it happened like that. Like last year, everyone realized, oh shit, the playing field actually is a lot more even. You can get to the playoffs and not really expect Oregon, the number one team that we thought throughout the entire season, got killed by Ohio State. We don't really know anything, and I think it's really being represented in the fan bases that were once very boisterous. I mean, we used to have at least once a year someone go viral for, oh my God, they got a 2020 blank national championship tattoo, and it almost ended up always never being the case. I mean, there was a Georgia fan that did that for 2008. Tennessee fans did it a while ago. You don't see that as much this year. I think college football fans have kind of cooled off.
Ain't no Penn State fans in your algorithm?
If there are, I haven't come across them. I feel like they'd go viral by now. I
do think you hit the nail on the head, though. As much as we've tried to tell you that the playing field has leveled, the expectations have certainly leveled, right? There is nobody, like you say, I don't see a fan base out here proclaiming that this is their year.
No.
And that's every year. Ole Miss was this last year.
Yeah, Ole Miss was this last year. Ohio State was this. Now, it was Ohio.
To an extent last year, they started talking like this.
Where are all these unreasonable fan bases that are like, all right, you guys are clearly just buying the Kool-Aid because it's March and April and there's no football going on right now.
I mean, what a bunch of level-headed fan bases.
What's happening in college football?
Yeah, where are you guys at? Where's the fanatical effort from you guys with your expectations? Where's it at?
Cowards. All of them.
All of you. I mean, ain't nobody firing their coach preseason if they don't win a title. What are y'all doing?
It's ridiculous. I mean,
it's got to be Penn State, though. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later tonight, but they feel like they should be pushing for a title.
And I agree with you on that, but then it's like, I feel like if you
but
talk
we're
to
Penn State.
Yeah, it's like, but James Franklin's our head coach.
It's James Franklin.
I've never met a Penn State fan that loves James Franklin. Goes, I fully believe in everything that he's doing. So it's very interesting. I feel like we've gotten less and less just irrational, high expectation fan bases from college football.
We got a super chub. From our man Colby?
Colby Moore.
Colby with a K?
Yes.
Shout out Colby with a K. We're going to put him right here. All right? Colby Moore. Now, I am not here for any shit talking my penmanship on my network while I am not here. Do you understand me? Does everybody understand me right now?
Gotcha.
It's one thing to sit in my chair. It's another thing to be out here shit talking my penmanship when I ain't even in the building to defend myself. All right, you know who's got sloppy handwriting? Brilliant individuals. This guy.
I gotta say, I figured you'd be much more upset about me sitting in your desk than talking about your.
You know, shticks are shticks. You said that shit with your whole chest about my penmanship. You know what I mean? You sat in my chair because you thought it would bother me. All right?
That's fair.
You thought it would bother me. And guess what? It didn't. It's my chair.
I'm glad.
You understand?
It's yours, man.
My chair.
I always sat there.
Ever seen a doctor with good handwriting? The answer is no. Okay?
No, those prescriptions.
I feel like that's a little intentional, to be honest.
As is mine.
Oh, okay. All right.
See? Swerve up in that corner. Whoa.
Man.
Yeah, too much of that being played inside the facility I was at this weekend.
You need to get off the internet.
You're right, bro. It's actually getting like played in these football locker rooms.
Yeah,
They like it?
that.
Yeah.
I mean, they put it in a video game.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Yeah. Good on the take, though. I'm with you. Where's it at?
Where is it?
Where are the irrational expectations? So I'm going to challenge the chat. Find me a fan base that thinks they should be winning a title right now.
I feel like Oregon's got to feel this way. Oregon fans are always irrational to an extent. Like the first year that they hired Dan Lanning and their first game was against Georgia and Kirby Smart, coming off of a national title, quite a few of those Oregon fans felt like they had a shot to take down and upset Georgia in the first week.
Big facts. Remember, if you want your name on the board, Super Chubb's all it takes. Anything north of $20, you're on the board. Oh, we're on the board again. We're hot.
It's an early toss.
We're hot right now. No, it's not. We're 14 minutes in. Hey,
Damn, I guess we are.
it's a damn good show coming you guys' way. Boys, I want to take y'all back. I want to take y'all back to a time where we're at the Orange Bowl. Georgia's about to get ready to just mollywop Florida State. Okay?
God, that was like 18 months ago.
And y'all know, as Georgia media reporters, practice availability during them bowl games, paramount, because they're mandatory at the bowl games.
Yes,
you
they
got to give it to the media. So I'll never forget Florida State media members just being like, what is up with the vibe from these Georgia guys? Why are they acting like this is life or death? Why are they all racing to the front of the line to make sure they get in? Why are they sprinting once they get into the doors to maximize the 15 minutes? What the hell's going on? Why are these guys acting like, they've been starving and they just saw food for the first time? Well, buddy, we only get like 3 of these per year in terms of media availability. They are the ones that are contractually obligated. And I'll never forget them Florida State media guys looking at us with like laughter in their mind, thinking that, like we cover the USSR or something. Like we cover something that they're foreign to. They don't even like, what do you mean he only gives you 3 media availabilities? We get to go do whatever the hell we want around this place at Florida State because Mike's our guy. Mike loves us. Mike lets us in everywhere we go. And this is the vibe I get from a lot of media. I get this from Tennessee guys. They're like, wait a minute, huh? What, huh? He don't let y'all around recruits when they come on campus? Hell no. Are you crazy? He don't let you into practice? Hell no. Are you crazy? He only lets you see Stretch during practice? Yeah. And they were just flabbergasted by this idea that a coach could be out here controlling the amount of access that they had to their program. Can you believe this?
It's about to be a rude awakening for those guys.
You damn right, because guess what Mike Norvell just did today? Mike Norvell tweeted out a saying, or a quote, I should rather, a statement. This is the statement from Mike Norvell. As I evaluated every aspect of our program this offseason, I came to the decision that majority of this year's spring practices will not be made available to the media. In my first 5 seasons here, we provided unmatched access to members of the media to observe practice during the spring preseason camp and game weeks. I appreciate and respect the media's role in telling the stories of the people in our program and keeping our fans informed. In a day and age where so many people have access to our players, I want to create an atmosphere free of outside perspectives during our time of preparation and development. The availability of our program in terms of post-practice media opportunities and individual requests for players, coaches, and staff members will remain the same. This is not a suggestion that I think last season's record had anything to do with the media members observing our practices, especially after we won 19 games in a row in 2022 and 2023 with media at practice. However, this is the best decision for our program at this time.
To me, this all makes sense, in my opinion. Like, I think that Mike Norvell did this on a timeline that makes complete sense for him specifically, not even with the program. Like, I understand what it looks like because the program is kind of in the dumps after they did go and make an Orange Bowl to play against Georgia and almost made a college football playoff. But to me, it was his way of, I'm going to get to Florida State, a program that needs a complete turnaround. I'm going to show complete love to the media. The PR is going to be off the chain. People are going to say how much they love me and how much I adore this place and whatnot and how great of shape I have it in. And then I'm going to weed them out.
He's 1 year late, Jonathan.
That's what I think.
He's 1 year late. He should have done this right after the 66-3 ass whipping. After I win 13 games, I got robbed of a college football playoff.
Going 0 dark 30.
0 dark 30. I can do whatever the hell I want. And that's exactly what the media would have done. Mm-hmm. After a 13-0 season, Mike Norvell turns them around from 8-5, just got done with the bullshit before him. They would have been like, hey, this guy gets whatever the hell he wants. And that would have been the narrative from the media. Now he's hiding something. Oh, now you lose? Now it's our fault? Now you're hiding something. I guarantee the media's reaction from this a year ago would have been like, hey, buddy, do what you want. We finally winning again. My readership's up. Everything's good. You go 1 win or 2 wins last year, whatever the hell it was, 2-9. This shit ain't gonna fly.
I think that's kind of with hindsight though, because like people were still really high on Florida State last offseason. Even I was saying they were going to win the ACC more than likely. We're going to be a college football playoff team, even though I had a whole lot of questions about DJU being the starting quarterback because he didn't show any promise at his previous stops. So I think that this year makes complete sense because everybody knows you're going to be bad. So why are we going to showcase that even more?
Yeah, I think that's probably like the bad optics of it. Oh, he's doing this because he knows how shitty his team's about to be, and he's not about to let the media go, hey, guys, this is not going to be a good year for Florida State. And I get it, and it's a tough situation to be in. Following up a 2-10 season is never going to be easy, and there's probably no right move to this because, like you said, if you keep the media around, they're probably going to give the inklings that, hey, shit's not going well at Florida State, but it's a catch-22 for him.
I do think timing on this is so paramount. Mm-hmm. I think, like I said, had you done this after you go 13-0, nobody says a word. You have to win to demand things nowadays. In 2016, Kirby Smart walked in and said, no, we're changing everything. For Kirby coming from a Saban background, all it took for him, it's a famous story in the media circles. He turned around at a summer camp and there were like 16 or 17 reporters around Jake Fromm. That's it. Over with. He's a recruit. We're trying to recruit that guy to come here. And all of a sudden, during his visit or while we're at a camp, I turn around. We got 19 reporters standing around him in a huddle. Hell no. We're not having that, period. And it was an immediate cut from most of the media availabilities. But I think he would have done that eventually anyways, right? That's where he comes from. That's his background. And there's a Passover, I think, with Norvell and some Saban guys as well. You can understand why he does this. Now, the real question I kind of want to talk about, and this is where I piss most of my colleagues off, why is the media relationship important? And I have my own thoughts about this. Used to, it was the only personal connection that U.S. fans had as a player to the players and the program, right? It was an intermediary between you and the team. The team stays tight and stays behind closed doors, except for what media allows them to, especially back in the day. You get no photos, you get no videos, you get no connection to the players except for what happens on Saturday and the interviews that they have with the media, right? But nowadays, I mean, there's so much social media. I mean, half of the fans that we engage with on a very intimate basis, you guys are following these kids on Instagram. You're following these, especially younger fans. Some of you might be following them on Snapchat. Like, you're far more intimate with your following of these players nowadays through social media than you ever were before. So I do think the importance of the media in terms of that process, right, getting you closer to the team, that's dissipated over the last 10 years, especially over the last 5. I do think it's still vital from an intel standpoint, right? Being able to tell the true what's actually going on at the program, that will never leave, right? We're not going to ever, I don't think it's ever safe for football programs to be treated like propagandist communist dictators. I don't think that's the way true information is ever going to flow from outside of these programs. So I do think journalists and inside sources, I think those guys are still very, very important from hey, here's what's actually happening with your football team, because if you're just listening to a coach talking a microphone, you're getting nothing but propaganda. You're getting nothing but what he wants you to hear. So I still think that is very, very important. And as I talked about earlier, I'm pretty confident in what I do. I'm pretty arrogant in what I do. However, I am not arrogant enough as a media member to think that if I didn't cover the team, you wouldn't be close to the team. I don't think that's how this works for me, at least. All right. I don't think my intel or my perspective of the football team is that important. All right. I think you would still love Georgia or still love college football as much as you ever did had Brooks Austin never existed. All right. I truly believe that. I don't also need media availability to do my job the way that I do my job. All right. This is the Film Guy Network. Media availability ain't got shit to do with what you put on tape on Saturday. Okay. So I know that, and I believe that media access and credentials are not absolutely paramount. I can't do my job if I don't have them. You know how I know that? I built this platform without credentials. Credentials were new to this program. They're still new to this program. All right. We don't get to go everywhere we want to go. All right. We have to go through all kinds of different channels just to get what sometimes we want in terms of access. You don't need access to the program to talk about the program. Does it help? 100%. Okay. So you're going to see a bunch of media members get all up and clutch pearls about this and the restriction of access and all. And you're going to see some pearl clutching from lifetime journos. You can do your job without being at practice for 10 minutes during stretch. That's the way I believe this business has moved. And if you think you have to be on the doorsteps of the program to cover it closely anymore, buddy, your phone exists, okay? You can get to these people through your phone. You don't need to get through them through waiting outside the building, hoping some source walks by you. That's not the way this business works anymore.
Yeah. And I think another important part of the media is they necessarily can't do a lot of help for your program. Like we just talked about this. They're more of a nuisance for these higher up coaches than anything. But they damn sure can hurt you if they're against you. We saw Billy Napier basically have to scratch and claw his way back to just baseline job security. And a lot of that was because, we talked about it, the inside media didn't really love him. He was kind of unpopular in that. They were like, this is Billy Napier's last year. They were writing about it like it was that way. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Norvell starts getting the same treatment because you did just damage his relationship.
Oh, there ain't no doubt. There's a 100% damage relationship right now between Mike Norvell and the media that covers him. And that ain't good. All right. And we've seen very close and personal what happens when it seems like maybe there might be a tiff, or maybe one guy doesn't necessarily like the way that you run your program. I guarantee you will start to see the narrative around how the media talks about Mike Norvell starting today down there at Florida State. His leash just got shorter because of this, in my opinion.
And I think really the reality is, especially considering of cutting back on practice availability, all that's hindering you from your job is taking a picture of an athlete and going, wow, this one looks really good, or whoa, watch out for this player. And there's really no meat to the content that you're providing there. It's just a way to let everybody know, hey, I'm in the building today for practice, and that's about it. Yeah.
Depth chart. And that's our next question is, what do you benefit from keeping the media out? That right there, the depth chart. And it's not just, hey, Memphis, my backup 4-star, or my backup's a 4-star. He got beat out by a 3-star. Y'all should come poach him. They're obviously worried about that, but they're more importantly worried about the depth chart getting out, because they got parents that call them left and right about the depth chart. Hey, Coach Norvell, you promised my kid last year when you were recruiting him that when he comes on campus, he's immediately a 2. Why is he a 4 right now? You know what I mean? Like they get these questions constantly about their depth chart, and that's all the media does when they go out there. They sit there, and I'm just as guilty as everybody else, because I know you want to read about it. Okay, so I'm sitting there writing the lineups down, and obviously taking observations. Hey, so and so put on good weight. So and so looks bad. So and so's got such and such. Right? We're doing all of the intel taking we possibly can when we're out there. I also think it has a lot to do, very much so to do with like what they're actually running. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're smart enough as a coach to know if the media's out here, I'm not going to show during practice what our number one thing is. So there's that.
It makes sense. I mean, it's a give and take to both. I do think there is some necessity in there, but it gets smaller and smaller every day if you're a media member. Like, college programs need you less and less, which is an unfortunate reality for people like us, because when you do enjoy access for so many years and like that, it gets cut away from you. It's probably very upsetting. I would have to imagine many members of the beat were very upset in 2016 when Kirby Smart came to town.
Facts.
However, he has made that brand twice as big as it was before. So,
I just so happened to walk in 2019. I know what it did to my business. I know what winning at that rate did to my business, and I'm very forthcoming with that. That's why I always get so it makes me laugh when media members are like, I'm totally unbiased. I'm not a fan, but boy, my business sure does better when they win than when they lose. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about it. I've seen people unsubscribe from Patreon after a loss with the title, Kirby sucks, I ain't paying for shit. It happens. all across the board with every one of our businesses. So I'm not going to sit here and act like it doesn't impact the success of our business. Winning cures all. Winning cures all. It helps everyone. Winning lifts all boats, if you will. What else was I going to ask? Oh, I add on this. Another reason why the media is so tight at some places is because I've never met a group of people with bigger levels of paranoia than college football coaches. There ain't having gone to these campuses over the last several weeks and seeing and meeting with these coaches and talking about the industry as a whole, there is not a more group of paranoid people than college football coaches, and there's not a group of slimier people probably than college football coaches. They're all great humans, one-on-one. But they're all, and this way I explained it to the guys earlier, they're all trying to climb the ladder. So they're all willing to do whatever it takes to undermine the next one, because that ladder, it's all the same ladder. We're all climbing. We might be on different rungs, but it's all leading to the same spot at the top. And if you're climbing the ladder faster than me, ain't no better way to knock you down and get ahead of you than to actually knock you down and undercut you. So they're all trying to find a significant advantage or a slight advantage, the smallest tidbit of information they can possibly get. And they might be looking at the Film Guy Network's YouTube page when they have media availability. They just might be doing it. Actually, I know they are. They're watching it. Whenever you go out there to practice and you put out practice video, the ops are watching, baby. I can tell you that right now. I've sat in the rooms and watched them watch it. So I know they are. And I can understand why, if you know what's going on, you're going to do everything you can to hide it. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, that's one approach. Let's hide everything we possibly can. Let's not play spring games, Texas. Let's not televise spring games, Georgia. Who else did it? Ohio State,
Nebraska.
Let's just not. Okay, Ole Miss. Let's not. Some schools are doing it that way, and some schools are doing it the way Syracuse and Colorado did today. Colorado, Dion announced today, we're looking for anybody to come out here to Boulder for 3 days and play a spring game. First of all, didn't know it was legal.
Yeah.
Didn't know we could do this. I'm surprised they're the first ones to do it. So that's good. That's awesome. Or try to do it. He tweeted out or said it in a press conference. We'll take anybody. Come up here to Boulder for 3 days, play a spring game, practice with us for 2 days. Within an hour, Fran Brown, being Fran Brown, quote tweeted it. Syracuse come out there to Boulder 3 days. Now, I don't know if he's going to take them up on it. I think it's pretty cool, though. I think everyone thinks it's pretty cool. I can also tell you this. Syracuse and Colorado ain't worried about nobody poaching their roster.
Nope.
They're the ones poaching other people's roster. Look at Syracuse's roster. Look at Colorado's roster. It's all transfers. They all just got there. Okay? So they ain't worried about putting it out on tape. They need to put it out on tape. All right? They need as many reps as they can possibly get. Everybody else is terrified of these two guys being some of the guys coming to get them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where you're like, you don't have a lot to lose, and you're not going to get some advanced scouting. I don't think that people are really paying much attention, or at least at the higher levels, to Syracuse and Colorado. If Syracuse and Colorado have guys on them, you know who they are, 1 and 2. You're probably not in any position to poach them because they are being taken care of by their programs, i.e. Travis Hunter, i.e. Shador, i.e. Kyle McCord when he was really balling out at Syracuse. So yeah, it makes sense for these lower tier programs, but I kind of love the idea of it where you have these not have-nots of college football, but less than elite programs going and battling out and giving us some spring intel. You'll almost guarantee get a fight video or things like that. So
I want to correct myself. Colorado ain't worried about nobody poaching their roster. Syracuse is. Syracuse signed 35 high school kids last class.
Good for them.
35 and only took 7 transfers. Fran, I'm sorry.
Shout out, Fran.
You should be worried about people poaching your roster, Fran. But good on you for doing this if it ends up happening. Do you think Colorado expected a quality of opponent like Syracuse to pull them up on it?
Probably not.
Probably not. But honestly, bring it on. And also with these Hard Knocks contracts being floated around in college levels now, I know UNC had one fall through, but this is perfect to have a film crew come in, film whatever spring scrimmage or whatever inside practice, or if they do a mini camp like these NFL teams do, release that out in, May or late September when the portal window's closed and all that footage is already useless. You make money off of that.
Well, I feel like that maybe with it being Colorado showing interest in this one maybe would have some televised or streaming option for it because it is Colorado. But I feel like that this would just start creeping into the territory of like what NFL teams do during their preseason practice sessions. They do OTAs, they have inter-squad matchups, and all you see are maybe like the clips from on social media from reporters there, or if there's a fight, of course, something like that.
Bro, Fran Brown is out here trait hunting. He don't give a damn about rankings. 2 defensive linemen, 6'6", 300 pounds. 3 offensive linemen over 6'7". Every corner signed in here over 6'1", guaranteed they can run. This roster is going to be dominating the ACC in a couple years, I think. The way that this looks and the way that he is doing. If you identify traits early on, you get them in, and you have a sense of development, which if you practice the way that Fran practices, you're going to develop. It's going to be a good football team in a couple years. It already is, but I think everyone expects them to kind of take a step back this year. But this is built to last at Syracuse. This is not a one-stop. Let's just grab a bunch of portal guys every year we can and hope to go 8-4. This is a building roster.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Syracuse different from, because now the terms that you hear floated around all the time are, is this going to be a Mel Tucker Michigan State situation where they brought in a whole bunch of transfers and one year they looked really good and then the next year they completely fell off? I think you'll start seeing people say that maybe this year about Syracuse if they do take a bit of a step back, but what they don't realize is what you just came across is, whoa, these guys recruited their butts off in the 2025 class. There's longevity to this roster.
Absolutely.
I mean, the next thing you have to worry about is Fran Brown taking a different job. And I know that he seems pretty locked in, pretty committed to Syracuse right now. But if an SEC school comes calling or the right Big Ten program, Syracuse probably not going to stay there for very long.
I don't know, man.
Look,
the opening press conference kind of holds him there for at least 5 to 6.
Right. And look,
at least the length of the contract.
That's fine.
I mean, when you look at the media and say, have y'all seen how much this guy's paying me? I ain't going nowhere. I'm from New Jersey. I ain't going nowhere. Like, he did the thing. So, but I know Saban did the thing. They all do the thing. I'm well aware. But I think this guy's word in his first job's a little, and how much it means to him. That's where he's from.
I'm sure Fran Brown is very happy in Syracuse. I'm sure Fran Brown will be the coach of Syracuse for as long as he wants to be. But there will probably come a day within the near future where a big name program has that opportunity, and it's going to be very hard to say no to that, like it is for everyone. Like, this isn't Dan Lanning rejecting Alabama because he's already at Oregon. Like, it's Syracuse.
Absolutely. Should we pick 3?
Let's pick 3.
Let's pick 3. These are 3 teams you think could make their first college football playoff appearance in 2025. I'll go first, and I'll take the layups. UNC's schedule's got playoff written all over it. At least 10-2, we get to sneak our way in somehow, some way, based off what I've seen. It is the Indiana of 2025. If you're looking for it, that schedule is the one. Right after that, I got Illinois. How about a very, very veteran unit? Bring back Luke Altmaier. Going to be heavy in the tights. Old Brett Bielema. Come on with it. South Carolina. I don't feel good at all about it. Honestly, I could see South Carolina being a playoff team. I could see South Carolina being 7-5. I have no idea where it's going to go. I trust the quarterback. I do not trust the schedule.
You trust the quarterback too?
I do. I like Lenoris. I like Lenoris a lot. He was, but he started to clean that up towards the end of the year. If you go look at the game logs, man, the fumbles slowed down a good bit and the interceptions dropped off dramatically the last 6 games of the year. So I got those 3. And again, I could see South Carolina going 7-5.
My first one I have is Nebraska. I feel like I'm becoming a bit of a Nebraska homer at this point on this show, just because
he's doing it.
I've been I stamped them quite a bit last show, but I'm doing it again this time because I do think that a lot of pieces are falling in place for them in the Big Ten. Now, it's highly competitive in that conference. That's their only downfall here.
Matt Rule, Film Guy Network Observer, out here throwing out year 3 principles in a press conference.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So
nuts.
The head coach has his own vote of confidence this season, but I do think that they have some intriguing pieces this year that make them somewhat of a contender, or at least a team that could kind of slide their way up to the top this year, of a quarterback that had an entire season's worth of experience added under his belt. They brought in some new wide receivers. The only question I have is they've taken some stabs in the transfer portal to add to the defense, and a lot of them haven't really worked out. I'm interested to see if Williams Neri is one of these. Is it going to be a year 1 boom for them? Because he's going to have to be for them to be one of these playoff contenders.
Sam and Pimba's out there too, right?
He is.
Oh, yeah. So and he's done this with Georgia guys.
Still got MJ Sherman on the roster out there.
I don't know if he's still there. He's not on the R-Lads.
Did he transfer out?
He's not on the R. I think he's just done.
He might ran eligibility.
Yeah, he was a 2020 signee, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't on the R-Lads.
Either way, bunch of guys that might not have worked elsewhere, but let's hope they work there kind of deals.
Yeah, so I kind of like where they sit right now is just one
big
of those.
Arden Key guy?
I mean...
Or is it Dane Key?
It's Dane Key.
It's Dane Key. Why do I always do that?
I don't
Football
know.
brain? Arden Key was an edge rusher at LSU.
Yeah. So Dane Key has to
be a guy.
He has to be because they haven't had any weapons in previous years.
They were 3 yards in a cloud of dust last year when I watched them. A classic Dylan Raiola midway through the third stat line, 12 for 15, 75 yards.
Yeah. I also had South Carolina on my list, and I put it this way. This is honestly me picking the better of two evils, the evils being the schedule between them and Florida. Both Florida and South Carolina have become two teams in the SEC that people are projecting as potential playoff teams, and it all has to do with the quarterbacks that they have. Of DJ Lagway and Lenore Sellers, both teams look like they're taking steps forward, but the schedules do not align with this win-now window that everybody is placing them in. Both of them have really tough schedules. South Carolina's is just a tad easier, and I do like Lenore Sellers. Number 3, Kansas State. I think I just have a new rule when it comes to the Big 12 of I'm going to pick the team, that a veteran team with a returning quarterback who also made moves in the portal to help the quarterback out. Kansas State brought in multiple transfer wide receivers. They returned their slot wide receiver who had over 800 yards. They also returned Dylan Edwards, the running back, and they have a veteran offensive line. Like, it is all redshirt seniors or transfer seniors or all upperclassmen on that offensive line. And so I like Avery Johnson, the quarterback. I think he fits what Big 12 teams like to do. He's a little bit of a dual threat guy. So and their schedule is relatively easy, which Big 12 team doesn't have a relatively easy schedule. But I think Kansas State could make it out of the Big 12 this year.
I like it.
I like those. All right. The first one I went with was a team that we kind of talked about on Thursday, again, being this Indiana, quote unquote. I went Louisville Cardinals. I think that they're a team that, and look, go ahead. Do it. The Whisper.
You picked the Cardinals.
I picked the Cardinals because of the Whisper. But look at this. They should start 5-0 in the year.
Should start.
They should. 5-0. Eastern Kentucky, James Madison, Bowling Green, Pittsburgh, Virginia. If you can beat Miami, you should be 9-0 by the time you get to Clemson.
Yes.
Clemson, SMU, Kentucky. That's 10-2 written all over, and we saw last year 10-2 likely gets you in the ACC championship. They're one of these teams I think that could make a splash because let's be fair, the ACC is very wide open.
Are we talking extension?
I'm going to stop talking about Louisville because the whispering is making me very uncomfortable.
Are we talking about the extension for the Whisperer?
No.
Or is he going to whisper to NFL quarterbacks?
I don't know.
Man. If you guys don't remember, Jeff Brom was noted the quarterback whisperer because he's had such a plethora of NFL quarterbacks play for him. Quick, name me the NFL quarterbacks.
I'm sure they just flooded your mind.
Just flooded your mind. Jeff Brom, quarterback whisperer. Indeed, he is.
Dan Mullen's got a better resume than him. Well,
Facts.
But either way, next team I have, I'm staying within the ACC. I went to Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
Whew.
They also have a fairly manageable schedule. Colorado on the road at home. They're a better football team than Colorado. That's the perfect, hey, this team's a big brand, but it's a team you should beat. Get that big first week 1 win, kind of build momentum. Gardner-Webb, they're going to have trouble against Clemson. I don't think that's a game you necessarily have to win, though. We just talked about it last year. You can 10-2 your way to a playoff appearance now, and especially in the ACC where the rest of that conference is going to be so down. Other than Clemson and Georgia at the end of the year, which isn't even an in-conference game, convince me why Georgia Tech shouldn't be playing for an ACC title matchup.
They're in our, we can kind of take a sidetrack here. They're in our Define Success segment tonight. They're one of our 4 teams that we're going to do. I got it on my notes right here. Am I crazy for thinking they should win at least 9 games?
No.
They're going to be favored in all but 2 football games this year. All but 2.
And one of them's not even within the conference.
Colorado, Gardner-Webb, Clemson, Temple, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Duke. They're going to be favored over Syracuse this year. NC State, Boston College, Pitt. Who's Pitt got this year? I don't even know. Mm-hmm. They still rolling out Eli Holstein? Probably.
No clue.
Going to Narduzzi their way to 8-4 in the ACC, I would imagine, because that's just what they do. But yeah, man. That schedule is doable.
Very manageable. And then I've got one more, and this is the quintessential. One of them has to do it. I think we forget that 2025, there's still going to be an auto bid for a group of 5 team. That's why I went with Memphis Tigers making the playoff this year.
Hot.
Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know the ins and outs of the Memphis roster, but looking at that schedule.
You should. They got $20 million that they have to spend over the next 4 years from FedEx.
Hey, look.
There's their NIL money. That's how they signed Antoine Hill out of high school from Houston.
Hey, shout out, but I'm still not deep. I'm not that deep enough in the weeds yet, but it's Chattanooga, Georgia State, Troy, Arkansas, very beatable SEC program.
Yeah.
If you're going to beat an SEC team, you probably want to play Arkansas, Mississippi State. After that, Florida Atlantic, Tulsa, UAB, South Florida, Rice, Tulane, Navy. there's not a lot of reason why you shouldn't be 11-1 by the end of the year, and people go, oh well, they're the highest ranked Group of 5 team here.
Guys out here sleeping on the midshipmen in March. Can you believe it?
No, they beat them in a shootout last year, but like again, Navy.
I think they're going to have a freshman quarterback start though.
That's fine.
You don't pay that guy and not play him.
I mean, that's true, but
You would think not.
You would think. I mean, he's probably the highest rated quarterback they've ever signed.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be. I mean, he was a top 200 player.
Yeah.
Coming out of high school.
someone in the G5's got to be in it, and I don't
You're
think
right.
Boise State's.
Someone's got to do it.
Hey, how about UConn? UConn 9-4 last year. 9-4 last year. Got a chance to win the conference this year.
2020 national champions.
UConn dark horse.
Wow. We're talking hoops?
Can't believe I'm doing it. No, we're talking ball, baby.
Oh.
Talking ball.
I didn't know
Did you
if we-
finish your 3?
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to defining success. We've already talked about Colorado a bit tonight. Let's start with them. I think anything close to a 7-5 schedule this year, a record this year, I think to me is successful in my mind for Colorado. I look at their schedule and I've got a bunch of toss-up games, a bunch of games sitting here in March I have no idea the outcome of. I think Georgia Tech's going to beat them. I think. But they got a chance to win that game. Houston, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to beat Houston. I don't know if Houston's going to beat them. BYU, I think BYU's going to win that game, but I don't know.
Right.
TCU, again, toss-up in my mind. Iowa State, toss-up.
Toss-up.
Utah, toss-up. Arizona State, I think Arizona State's going to win, but I wouldn't be shocked. K-State at the end of the year, toss-up. All those games are toss-ups for me.
You basically just listed the epitome of what the Big 12 is.
For real.
Where it's like,
You don't know.
I don't know who's going to win that one. But it makes it, you're absolutely right. Like Colorado is one of these teams, and because they're in this conference where no one's really extending themselves as elite or really bad either. It's just everyone's really just a conference full of mid. So every now and again, the mid will beat itself.
They're the program that will test the theory of, can you really do this strictly through the portal? For me. Because it's all he's doing. He's taking 3 or 4 guys he thinks can play for him immediately out of high school and then filling it with 30 new retreads every single year. And I do not believe that is a recipe for success.
No.
I just put it simply as whatever keeps Deion Sanders around. I think that should be the bar for this season
That
because
is also
nobody's putting expectations on him this year because of who they lost. So really your priority as a football program needs to be, how do we keep this guy as our head coach? Because as soon as Deion Sanders leaves, we know exactly what happens to that football program. They go back to being the old Colorado more than likely of no one's really talking about you anymore because Deion Sanders is no longer your head coach.
And yeah, let's be fair. The Colorado, I'm just going to call it an empire right now because I can't think of another word for it. That's built on a house of cards that's propped up by Deion Sanders. You take that away, and that thing is coming down to the ground. That program's in trouble as soon as he leaves. So you're right. Whatever keeps Deion Sanders your head coach for as long as possible is a successful season, in my opinion.
It's a great point.
That's all I've got for them.
I mean, on their schedule, I demand a win against Delaware, Wyoming, Buddy from San Jose State, aka Arizona, and West Virginia. Those are the only 4 games where I'm like, if you lose those.
I don't know, man. West Virginia, stop doing TikTok dances. They're going to be locked in this year.
Hey, stop doing TikTok dances and allowing the weed smoking. Might go undefeated.
They
Might go undefeated.
add them to the playoff list.
I'm saying.
No injury report.
Boy, old Pat McAfee would have been hell on that roster. Would have been hell on that roster. Yeah, I think we're all in the same path there. Anywhere around 7-5, 6-6. Failure would be below 500.
Yes.
Especially the way they talk. They had Denzel Washington telling them that they better make a national championship and he better have tickets. So,
Okay.
you heard it here first.
Shout out Denzel.
How about Texas A&M, boys? What do y'all got?
All right, first, beat Texas. You got to beat Texas. Like, that's baseline for success. That rivalry's back.
That's unfortunate
Yeah.
because I don't think it's happening.
Yeah. And I don't think your season's a failure if you don't beat Texas, but that's one of the main checkpoints of, hey, if we have a successful season, we can beat. If we beat Texas, it's a successful season. Another one is you can't close out the year like we. I feel like this was a really common trend. A lot of teams we talked about, teams will go on this 5-week stretch of just what the hell did they do? Texas A&M was a top 10 team at one point. They were 1 loss, only lost to Notre Dame, a really close game. Then they just rattled off getting beat by South Carolina, getting manhandled on the road, or losing a close overtime game to Auburn. Like, they lost 4 of their last 5 closing games. Like, you cannot have that this year.
I put it simply as finish top 6 in the conference. I feel like that's a fair and reasonable expectation for Mike Elko and his program going into year 2 of this, especially considering, like, you spent the whole first year what it felt like figuring out what your quarterback situation was and what your future at the position is. You have that now in Marcel Reed. I feel like you finally have some stability there, and you can continue to build off of that. But I feel like time and time again, I don't know where to place the expectations for this football program, but I feel like this season, I think it's completely fair to say that you should be finishing somewhere in that 6th spot range in this conference, considering of what you've retained and kind of where you put the direction of this program. I think that like a 9-3 record or somewhere around that range is completely fair.
Good point. For me, it's more to do. It has little to do with wins and losses, even though I do think the schedule's relatively favorable, and I'll explain that here in a second. I think Texas A&M's success from an outside viewer standpoint, in my opinion, is a further distancing from the Jimbo Fisher pains, which, in my opinion, the biggest problem I've had with Texas A&M, and it was this year as well, I don't know what Texas A&M I'm going to get week to week. I have no idea if you're going to be good enough to beat Alabama with Zach Calzada and then turn around and lose to App State or vice versa. I don't know if you're going to beat the shit out of South Carolina on the road and then turn around a few weeks later and lose to Auburn on the road in terrible fashion. I don't know. Be down 21-0 in that football game. I have no idea. Actually, I think they were up and then came back and lost the lead.
Well, they lost to South Carolina that season too.
That's right. But I don't know which Texas A&M I'm going to get week to week. Are you the one that beats the hell out of LSU and then loses to South Carolina? That's what it was.
Yep.
Which Texas A&M are you going to be? I want to move away from this Jimbo Fisher era of we're up and down, up and down, up and down. We could be great. We're actually mediocre. I don't know what you are. I want to know what A&M I'm getting every week. I want to see, similar to the way I define Alabama's success, I want to see this. I want to see constant progression, especially in year 2 of Marcel Reed. As for wins and losses, man, the schedule, in my opinion, has 5 guaranteed better wins it. All right, UTSA, Utah State, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Samford should be guaranteed wins. And then the rest of this, I think on paper, there's one I think you're going to lose to them, which is Texas. All right, so can they nab 3 or 4 of these? Can you beat Notre Dame on the road? I don't know. All right, Auburn, Missouri, and South Carolina. Of those football games, and LSU, of those 5-6 games, how many can you win? Because I do believe there's a world where in December we're looking up and A&M's got 1 game left to finish 10-2 and be a playoff team. Yep. I really do think on the schedule there's an opportunity for that, but that means you've got to beat Auburn, Missouri, South Carolina. No, you got to beat 4 of those teams because I think you're going to lose to Texas.
I mean, this was essentially what the layout was for them last year. Of basically, like, hey, you're in the driver's seat to make the SEC championship right now. You just have to coast through here, and then you can even lose your game to Texas. Lose to Auburn right away in overtime. Yep. Like things like they just piss the bed towards the back end of the season. And going back off the consistency thing, I don't even think it needs to be continuous progression. I just don't think you can see regression from week to week.
Yeah, no big drops.
Yeah, I'm okay with you being fine, just plateauing for a while, but don't go back down. I also wrote down I think they need to be more consistent on offense, and I think having Marcel Reed as your guy will lock that down a little bit. But there was a lot of times last year where it was like, oh, they scored 40 points this week and then get held to 7 by Texas. Now Texas' defense is very good, but too inconsistent.
And I felt like I had a lack of identity on offense.
Extremely.
How could you have one, though? You're flip-flopping quarterbacks most of the year.
And I feel like it's a double-sided coin here because I was going to bring up how they did lose some big-time contributors off of that roster. You lost Noah Thomas, your wide receiver, to the transfer portal. You lost some notable guys on defense to the NFL draft. But on the flip side, you saw massive attrition on your roster when you took that job, and you still produced a season in which at one point you were in the driver's seat for the SEC championship game, and you were in a spot to win multiple big games down the stretch and maybe even buy yourself a playoff ticket.
Love it. Let's move on to Penn State. I'm going to go last.
You want to go last here?
I want to go last.
I think it's pretty simple for Penn State. Baseline success, this is what you have to do or it's a failure of a season. 10-2, you're a playoff team. You play Ohio State on the road, Oregon at home. If you can lose those 2 games, you better beat everyone else. You can split those games and go 10-2. Doesn't matter how you get to 10-2. Just get to 10-2, be a playoff team. I think ideally your fan base wants and expects you to go through, have another deeper playoff run like you had this year where you dominate SMU, you handle Boise State. I mean, they had the most favorable draw in the playoff. They were basically gifted a Final Four spot. Fans would like to see a deeper run than that, but I don't necessarily think that's required to have a successful season.
Bro made me fill out a bracket and didn't even write an article. Just tweeted it.
Oh, he's tweeting it to then put in the article.
He better. Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
I think honestly, I think it's a bad thing that Penn State made it as far as they did in the playoffs last year, because now we're heading into this season with the expectations
buddy.
of what expectations with Penn State. Let me say that again, James Franklin. Expectations on your program.
Boy, you just wait until it's my turn, James. Go ahead.
So I do think that they should once again be a playoff team, and that's what I put in my notes. You got to do it again, but more specifically, you got to do it with some flair and flash this year. I think that you kind of just uglied your way to a playoff spot, and you uglied your way to a semifinal matchup in the college football playoff.
Almost uglied your way to a national title.
With Drew Aller, and this is the main point of this, is Drew Aller cannot be the same thing that he was last year, where one play we look like we might be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, and the very next play we look like we're throwing a football for the very first time in our life. There has to be some type of progression for him, and you have to live up to this hype, because I feel like I've been hearing this from Penn State fans for the last 10 years of, oh, just you wait, this quarterback's going to change everything for us. It was Sean Clifford and whoever else you want to throw in the mix. That one too. So something has to change here. Drew Aller has to make something happen for this football team and make it seem like, oh, these guys are making something happen finally.
Boys, if Penn State fans aren't demanding a title this year, when will they ever? When will they ever? When are you ever going to have hopes of winning a national title if this ain't it? Ohio State's breaking in a brand new quarterback, brand new coordinator, brand new running backs, brand new left tackle, brand new defense. Okay, Oregon, brand new quarterback, lost Tez Johnson, lost TJ Ferguson, lost Joey Bosa. All right. Georgia's down, or expects to be down this year, or there's questions about them. Clemson is the only other team in your vicinity in terms of everyone expects them to have everything back, or at least enough to go win their conference. If Penn State doesn't look at their roster this year and feel like they're in a better position than everybody else, then when are they going to? If their booster base doesn't demand that they're going to win a national title this year, then when will they ever? Because Nick Singleton didn't come back for free. Katron Allen didn't come back for free. All right? The tackle, the guard that was a first-round projection, didn't come back for free. All right? There's a lot of money that was invested in Penn State retaining the roster that they did. If you're not demanding James Franklin to go win a national title this year, then when will you ever have those types of expectations? And I don't ever feel that those types of things are warranted for certain programs. But when I look around college football, I don't see a whole lot of teams with no questions, or at least we feel great. We brought all of our dudes back. This is the only team across all of college football that has everything in place to go do it. They didn't lose their offensive coordinator. They spent $3.5 million bringing in a DC. When are you ever going to demand that your team win at the highest rate if it's not going to be this year in college or in Penn State?
Here's the weird thing about, and I agree with everything you're saying. Like, name another team that's more created and destined to seemingly win it this year. The problem I have with it is everyone's picking, Penn State as this national title favorite. Everyone's saying you should be expecting a national title simply because it's, well, who else is going to do it? If it's not this year, when's it going to be? Like, it's just kind of like, hey, you're the default team here. We need you to be the national champion. It's not Penn State has a really, really good national championship quality team. It's not Ohio State of last year where, God, look at this roster. They're returning a lot of good pieces. Katron Allen, say what you want, but there's something to be said about a guy that's been quarterback for 5 years in your program. We know the inconsistencies Drew Aller has, but that's more than half of these programs can say. You have a returning veteran quarterback. I just don't think that picking them because of default, or if not this year, whenever, is the valid reason for doing it.
No, look, I don't feel good. I'm not picking Penn State to win a title.
Yeah, no, I'm saying making that the expectation, because who else is going to do it? When else are you going to do it? It's tough.
The path to a title and being in the best position to win a title is the same reason that other fan bases enter the year thinking they're going to win a title.
That's true.
Now, most of those other fan bases have the most talented team in the country when they feel that way, or at least one of the most talented teams in the country. By the way, this team has one of those.
It's very talented.
They've recruited inside the top 10 for the last 5 years. That's what Penn State has been doing. They've been the third best recruiting team in the conference for all of time. They recruit better than Michigan. All right, so they've got the dudes. They paid for them to return. If they're not, Ole Miss had we're going to win a title expectations last year. If that program gets to have them, Penn State should have them right now, and I wouldn't call their fan base stupid for having them.
I don't think they're stupid for having them. I think that saying we should have a title or this season if it's not a success is a little excessive. And I think that's this is kind of the baseline of where we were getting this conversation is what's a successful season for them. I don't think it's fair for any team in college football to have, hey, if you don't win the national title this year, it's a failure for you.
We already hit on, or do you want to go?
I was just going to say, I think that this season, more than anything, you finally discover what James Franklin's ceiling is.
Good point.
This will be
right now it's 10-2. Can it be 11-1?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. We already kind of hit on Georgia Tech. Do we have anything else to add? I think 9 wins is kind of like the baseline right now.
I'm not as high on Georgia Tech as you guys are.
Oh, you're a Buster Faulkner hater. That's
not
why.
a Buster Faulkner hater by any means, but I just have some questions just because you returned one of your top 4 wide receivers from last year. One of them transferred out of your program. Malik Rutherford came back this year. You do return Haynes, the running back, and you do return your starting quarterback. But I don't know if there is enough coming back onto this roster that allows them to keep moving forward, especially because I think they kind of exceeded what their expectations were last season. I just have some questions. So I just simply said, just keep feeling like you're close to Georgia and your fans are going to be happy. If your fans feel like they're closing the gap on Georgia, they're going to keep you around that program for the rest of time.
Here's the interesting thing, though, and this is where it becomes like a really nuanced thing. Staying close to Georgia, yes. Staying too close to Georgia and not ever beating them will get annoying. Walking out of that stadium last year with after that game with 8 overtimes, Georgia Tech fans were more hurt than I've ever seen them. Mm-hmm. And that's because for 8 or 9 years, it's, the game's over by the third quarter. We don't care anyways. When you go to an 8 overtime game and you come this close to beating Georgia, you have that ripped away from you. Tech fans really, really want to beat Georgia now. So if you have these instances where you keep losing 1-score games or overtime games or last-second games, the frustrations for Brett Key are going to grow as opposed to if it's a blowout by the third quarter.
All right, last thing on the National Hour before we get into our notes from the pilgrimage. And then transition into the local hour. It's a bunch of ball knowledge coming your way in about 35 seconds, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. Best green unis in honor of Sir St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yes.
Number 1, Marshall's Randy Moss jerseys.
Iconic.
Crispy. Number 2, Oregon's green jerseys with the yellow feathers. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Number
Mariota
3.
era.
Anything but Michigan State's neon jersey.
Oh,
anything
horrible.
but that.
Disgusting.
All right, I will take any green jersey, not that one, at number 3. Side note, I think they're all ugly.
I think Baylor has some very good green jerseys. When they mat their helmets and go with the hard yellow, I like that. And I'm not usually a green and yellow guy, but I like that.
Yellow guy.
I am.
The only green and yellow jersey that I like is the Oregon green jerseys that have like the dark yellow numbers. They wore these last year with Dylan Gabriel. I like those. As for like a plain Jane green jersey, give me North Texas.
Ooh.
I love North Texas.
What are they? The green machine? What are they?
The Mean Green Machine.
Yeah, the Mean Green Machine.
Okay. What do you got for me, Curb?
I already gave you.
You already gave him?
Baylor.
I wasn't listening.
I will also say though, Notre Dame's green alternatives are kind of nice with the chrome domes.
Yeah.
Not a fan favorite.
Kelly Green.
They're a little lighter than Kelly Green.
All right, so where are we at? We're here?
Yeah, I can get you into it.
So I've obviously been traveling around to a bunch of different college football programs over the last several weeks with a search of ball knowledge. All right, I'm traveling the globe, or at least this hemisphere, in search of as many different programs that will open their doors to me and allow me to just absorb football knowledge for several days. Just got back in town from a 3-day trip with a certain program. I swore myself to secrecy because the last thing I want to do is go to another program that knew I was at one program that may or may not happen to have them on the schedule and then be like, hey bro, what'd you see? And then put me in an awkward position. So I'm not talking about where I'm going. I do want to share with you guys some of the things that I have learned from this visit. The last program, man, I can't speak to how much they allowed me to do and how intimate they allowed me into their program. Spent 3 days sitting in everything from staff meetings to player meetings to position meetings to team meetings to practice to weights. Everything that involved that football program, I got to see it up close and personal, and I left with so much knowledge, most of which I'm going to relay to you right now. So I got a board over here that I've written down a bunch of what I'm calling coachisms. All right, we're going to talk through some of these coachisms right now. My favorite being this one right here. Bring your belly button. Bring your belly button. Now, when I played offensive line, guys, and if you've ever been in a position meeting and they're ever talking about blocking, what's the number one thing they say, Kirby?
Use your hips.
Bring your hips. Got to bring your hips. Bring your hips. Bring your hips. Now, here's the problem with that, all right? If I were to take 2 rods or 2 belt buckles, right, and pull my hips forward, I get into this position. Hey, yo, I get into this really compromised position where I'm trying to extend my hips. I've now lost my glutes, okay? I don't have my backside hardly at all when I extend my hips. Now, I hear that all the time. Coaches talk about bring your hips, bring your hips. But it gets us into this real funky position where this ain't strong. This ain't strong at all. However, if my hips stay engaged, if my glutes stay engaged, and I bring my belly button, if I bring my belly button and get good foot fire on my way, I'm not in this weak ass position. I'm in this strong position, ready to catch that power clean bar that we talk about so much on this channel. So I freaking love that, man. Bring your belly button. Bring your belly button. Obviously came from an offensive line coach. The other one that came from this offensive line coach, the battle for the breastplate. That's what we're in a fight for every single time we snap the football. As line of scrimmage players, we're in a battle for that breastplate. If I can get to that chest, you are compromised. I've got you pinned. Hey, quit laughing. All right. Quit laughing in the chat. Quit making inappropriate jokes in the chat. We're talking ball. Wait till I talk about the nut stunt. Y'all are going to lose your mind. You're going to lose your damn mind. So lock in right quick. None of that bull crap going on in the chat. We're running a position meeting right now. Lock in. All right. Battle for the breastplate. Love that. We got to get to it. We got to win that battle for the breastplate. These are 2 coverage terms you're going to start hearing on the network every once in a while. Mush. We are man-to-man unless that player goes shallow. Reason being, if a guy goes shallow on one side, probably mirrored on the other side. So if one goes away real shallow, one's probably coming back. Let's wait for that. You are man-to-man unless he goes shallow. Now, that's mush coverage, all right? Might be in cover 1 mush. If we're in cover 1 meg, what do you think? We are cover 1 man everywhere he goes. That is what MEG stands for. If you hear me talk about MEG coverage, that's what we're talking about. Ooh, Stabuda. I love Stabuda. Offensive line group I saw at one of my stops broke it down on Stabuda. Any guesses on what Stabuda stands for?
I don't even want to make a guess.
No guesses? Shove the ball up there. Yeah? Stabuda. I love that. Hey, Stabuda on 3, Stabuda on me. 1, 2, 3.
Stabuda.
Attaboy, they're coachable. They're coachable. 2 to the field, back away equals double slant. Let's go to the board. All right, this is a good little detail I picked up from a defensive coach. Okay, a defensive backs coach. All right, so a lot of teams nowadays running my favorite play, zone beater, FIB, flood into the boundary. Now, how do we line up in flood into the boundary? Most teams put it in trips. Some teams do it out of duo using the back in the equation. So if I have an H over here and let's call that an X, right? And I have the Z over here with the slot receiver over here. Ball is on the right hash, gentlemen. Right hash. So the field is way over here, right? These guys are all the way spread out. All right. If we get back away 2 to the field, we are keying double slants on this side because they're probably running their zone beater over here. Okay, they're probably swinging the back, trying to put our zone into conflict over here while running the double slants on the backside. Georgia does this a little bit differently. Some teams do this a little bit differently. They run the double bender on the backside. We've seen that a lot from Georgia, okay? So that's one thing that I'm going to be paying attention to this fall. If I see, hey, back away into the boundary, 2 to the field, we're probably keying double slants on the backside. You got a question.
Do they go into what quarterback progression is in this play like this?
We're always going to read zone beaters first, come back to the man unless we get man indicators across the board. Okay? If we get man indicators across the board, probably starting with the man side, going to go ahead and get to the winner. The number 1 read in that progression is the number 1 wide receiver. Reason being, any guesses? Why we don't want to read this in to out for reading the double slant side?
Linebacker.
Red, boy. He's a smart football observer over there. CBK sitting in the stage over there. So, yeah, that's what we got over there. We got a double slant indicator on the backside of back away, 2 to the field. All right, so let's erase that. Let's go back to the coachisms. Now, Nat. Ooh, love Nat coverage. Nat, nickel always travels. Makes sense, right? Nickel always travels. So this is a great way teams are now disguising man and zone coverage. We're going to travel the nickel with whatever motion they bring us. When he gets over there, he's going to squat into a hook curl zone, or what we're going to talk about here in a little bit, an FPS dropper. Can't wait to explain that one to you guys as well. Now, this is a zone term that we learned. You're going to hear about in this or on this network, right? The dead spots. What are the dead spots? All right. If we're running a zone coverage, there is a portion of the field that we're not accounting for right here. There is a portion of the field that we're not accounting for. That is what we're going to call from now on a dead spot in the zone. So if we're running true quarters, guys, if we're running true quarters and we're dropping, all right, we're dropping all of our corners and our safeties into quarter zones, okay? Into quarter zones. I'm going fast here. Follow with me. If we get a ball checked down underneath our coverage into a dead spot, into the zone, we have won. We're conceding that. All right, so as a defense, when we see the ball get checked down into a dead spot, we'll mark dead spot down and a check into the defense. Now, what's key when we get a ball to a dead spot?
Tackling.
We got to rally and tackle. That's daggum right there. Way to be paying attention in the class, son. All right, now, know the level rush. This is something we talk about on this network every once in a while, right? Manipulating the launch point. What is the launch point? It is the place with which the quarterback is throwing the football. So let's go back to the board. Now, this is an offensive line term, particularly with tackles. Now, guards can get put in this situation too, but it's really common with our offensive tackles, all right? So let's draw out the setting. Now, if we're in a 4.5 yard shotgun, right? That's where we're lined up. 4.5 yards from the feet of the center. If we're at 4.5 yards, we take a 3-step drop. We're at about 7.5 yards, right? That is what we call the level rush. That is the level with which the defense is rushing to. So now, if I'm a left tackle and I'm kicking into my set, I'm 2.5, 3 feet into my kick set. We're now running this guy past the level of the launch point. Once this end gets past the level of the launch point, what does he have to do?
Spin back inside.
He has to spin back inside. So if I, as a left tackle or a right tackle, if I am aware of the level rush, when he gets to that point, when he gets beyond the level rush, he has to spin back inside. So if I'm aware of that as an offensive lineman, I am going to be aware and conscious when he goes to spin. I'm not going to be caught off guard as long as I know where the level rush is. Now, here's the key. If I'm rolling the quarterback, right, and the launch point's over here, now our level rush has changed, right? At right tackle, it's become much, much shorter on us. At left tackle, it's become much more elongated for us, okay? So we have to identify the level rush, or as I would coach it, hey, can we be aware of where the launch point is, gentlemen? Can we be aware of where our quarterback is releasing the ball, where we're trying to ultimately set up that pocket? All right, now, the last one on the board today before we go to the actual life lessons I got for you guys today that I learned from the football community, all right? Love bringing that back to you guys. FPS droppers. Now, this was a void in my knowledge. All right, this is a void in my knowledge. I used to call every underneath curl player a hook curl player. So what you've heard me talk about on this network a ton. All right, but there's a different level to this. This is elevated. We have FPS zone droppers nowadays. Force, peel, slant droppers. Let's talk about it on the board. All right. So if this is particularly against RPO situations, guys, we got to have somebody to play all three types of deals. So if I have a quarterback and a running back over here, and let's call this the Willie. All right, if I got the Willie right here, let's call him an FPS dropper just so I can explain what this is. His first responsibility is going to be a force player. If we see run, we got to set the edge. We got to be a force player into the equation. Now, if we go to check the force and they're not running the ball in the back, we're to peel. We now have to run with that guy on the peel. All right, if we check the run, it's not a run. We check the back, he doesn't peel. Next thing we know, we're going to drop up underneath the slant window and get up underneath this. You can see why this would be effective against RPO teams. Mm-hmm. What were you going to ask?
So this is typically something you're going to see ran in cover 3 when the flats are typically open. You're not going to have a corner sitting there because there's probably not a lot of need for an FPS dropper when you have a corner sitting.
To be honest with you, Kirby, as much teams that I visit with nowadays that are running cover 4 or some type of cover 4 match or some type of cover 4 press or some type of cover 4 bail, and how many teams are running cover 3 like you mentioned, the flat's almost always open.
Pretty much.
All right, the flat's almost always open. We want to force checkdowns. This is a great way to make sure, hey, if a back does peel, we're going to be there. Now, if this were to happen, let's say we've got a simulated pressure walked up here, Kirby. Let's say we erase this Will and all his responsibilities. Now, let's say we got a simmed pressure. Let's say we got a nose walked up. We got an end over here, an end over here. We got a backer over here and a backer over here. Now, both of these guys are probably going to be FPS droppers. Whoever's to the back has to be ready for a forced peel or slant. Okay, so if you see this guy peel immediately after rushing, that's exactly why he's a peel player.
This is what you saw a lot from Nolan Smith during his time in Georgia. Chaz Chambliss did a lot last year. I'm pretty sure that's what Nolan Smith did when he got the tip, or Trayvon Walker did it when they tipped the pass against Anthony Richardson against Florida, where he basically saw that its pass dropped.
It's not just Georgia. Everybody that's running sim pressures, which is almost everybody, particularly on third down, has what we call an FPS player, a force peel slant player. You know, I knew it was going to be worth it. I knew this journey across and all this travel was going to be worth it. I didn't think it was going to be this worth it. I have so much, even more, that I can't bring to you, all right, because of actually maybe how guys are teaching stuff. I don't want to blow up anybody's spot. Now, let's go back to the desk. I've got some stuff that I've written on my board that I'm now going to live by, and I think maybe some of this could help you guys out as well in your day-to-day opportunities and your day-to-day operations, wherever you might be. Now, Kirby, don't zoom in on this stuff too much, okay? Don't zoom in on this stuff too much, but let's go through it. I'm going to leave my mic on because I'm going to turn away from the board here. Turn away from the microphone. All right, so.
Sword.
Some of you guys might know, wield your sword, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you might know, I put a bunch of stuff up on this board that means a lot to me. There's a video on my Twitter feed that shows all of the stuff that's been up here for years. Some of the stuff just got added, like this one right here, man. I love this quote right here. I'd rather be consistently good than occasionally great. Can I get a thank you? Can I get a thank you? I'd rather be consistently good than occasionally great. All right, that's gold stuff right there. Consistency is a major key. Also love this one. Inputs reflect thinking. Thinking reflects output. If we're putting a bunch of trash in our head, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have trash thinking. If we got a bunch of trash around us, getting into our environment, we're going to have trash thinking. If we have trash thinking, we're going to have terrible outputs. I'm telling you that right now, period, point blank. That is football. That is life. That is everything. Inputs reflect thinking. Thinking reflects output. Love that one a lot. Let's see here. To be coached is to be loved. How about that one? If I'm coaching you hard, it's because I love you, son. Okay, don't shy away from coaching. If to be coached is to be loved. I love that. That's everywhere. Don't waste the day because someone has disrupted your peace. Come on now. Don't just throw away a day because someone pissed you off early in the morning, man. Let that go. Let it go. Get it out of your headspace. Now, I don't often bring to this board things that I have created. All right, but this weekend, I thought of something that I think is important, and I will live by, right? We got to have urgency through obsession. Okay, we got to be able to create a sense of urgency about ourselves because we are obsessed with being great. All right, can't nothing get put off till tomorrow because I got to be great today. Do we understand that?
Sounds like
urgency through obsession. I've got to be obsessed about what I'm doing. That's what creates urgency. I got to do it now. It's got to be done. Let's go. Got to have a sense of urgency about yourself or you'll never go anywhere, man. I truly believe that. What else do I got on here? Perfection is a myth. Progression is reality. Come on now.
That's probably my favorite one.
Come on now. Perfection is a myth. Progression is reality. I love that, man. So much good shit being learned on this journey. Oh, we forgot to talk about nut stunts, didn't we?
We did.
Oh, let's go back to the board. I am giddy, ladies and gentlemen. I am giddy. All right, so we talk about run stunts a lot. When we watch film study, we're like, man, I ain't seen so many run stunts like this when I was playing ball. How do we handle all this? All right. A lot of nose and tackle stunts that we see a lot, right? Got a nose and a tackle over here. Also saw a new way to draw the offensive line. How about that? How quick and efficient is that? A little lopsided, but that's the way they do it at some schools. All right. Especially DB coaches. All right.
No, they don't care about it.
No, they don't. All right, so let's say we got a nose and we got a tackle here. Now, we've seen a lot of times nowadays, guys, the nose will slant across that guy's face and the tackle's wrapping over, or vice versa. The nose is wrapping over and the tackle's going underneath, right? We got a nose and we got a tackle. We got the tackle going way over and the nose going over the top, right? So what are these stunts actually called in the football world? Nose under tackle.
Oh.
Nose under tackle.
Nut.
Tackle under nose.
Ton.
We got a nut and a ton.
Nut a ton.
Ton of nut. You know?
Yeah.
Now, here's what's funny. You go sit into a DB meeting room, okay? And the coach is talking about, hey, man, you can't let this guy get in your face. Hey, man, you can't let this guy come in your chest. And immediately, hey, yo, pause, coach. Pause, coach. What are you doing, coach? Whoa, hey, yo. You go to a offensive line meeting room, coach talking about, daggum it, you mustard on the nut. What? No, not a word said. Yes, sir, coach. I'm sorry, coach. I messed that up, coach. My bad, coach. Just two different philosophies.
It is funny how different offensive and defensive cultures are.
Yeah.
Like you see the memes every now and again. It's like the offensive coordinator versus defensive coordinator. It's like a very sleek, well-dressed guy versus a guy who's just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Like,
Hell yeah.
It's so true.
Hell yeah.
That was fun.
Ball.
A lot of ball.
Do we have any more?
You know what I learned most importantly? And it's where this urgency through obsession came from. I'm actually reading Nick Saban's book, one of his many. This is one he wrote after the first LSU title, and I thought it was really, really neat. And Kirby, you've been in football rooms in preseason where coach sends the players off and says, all right, bring me back team objectives, right?
Yep.
Player-led team objectives. And on every team I ever played with, the number one objective always is what?
Win a championship.
Win a championship, right? And he said going into the 2003 season, he was really worried about his team's leadership. Didn't know who his leaders were going to be. Didn't know what it was going to be. Didn't know if he had a vocal leadership pool at all. And he gets back the team objectives, and not one of them had anything to do with winning, but all of them had everything to do with the process of winning.
Ooh.
You follow me here? I feel like, myself included, I feel like way too many people talk about their dreams. They're obsessed with their dreams. They're obsessed with where they want to go, but nobody's obsessed with the process to get there. Nobody cares. Nobody is waking up every single day obsessed with how they're going to get where they're going. They wake up every single day wanting to go where they want to go. All right. So until you become obsessed with the process, the results will always be varied. That's what I learned in chapter 1 of that book. I can't wait to continue to delve in.
It's the journey, not the destination.
All that cliche stuff. And I've heard all those things before. I never really applied them to myself. I don't know if people get as much out of those things as I do, but I pretty much live my life by things that football coaches have said, and I think a lot of them apply to general life in holistic viewpoints.
Yeah. I mean, all you need is one person to get something from it, and you've done your job.
I like that.
Much less you getting something from it.
I like that. All right. Local hour. We got a lot of stuff to talk about right here and right now. No need for a transition. We got spring notes. Spring game no longer on television. We'll talk about that and why it was important for the Georgia football program to do that. We have our first injury of the spring. We got a Brady, as I'm pronouncing him, Marchese. We got a Marchese film study and Jared Curtis film notes or recruiting notes as well. Should we start with our spring notes?
Let's go ahead and do it.
Let's start with our spring notes. What did you guys learn from week 1 of spring practice at the University of Georgia?
Go ahead, Kirk.
I can go ahead. So the first thing I learned about that, and this wasn't just one moment where I had this is something I'm learning now. Just through the little inklings and everything that I've heard from how they're going about coaching this year, how the players are reacting. I'm calling it the refoundationing has begun.
Love that.
And we talked about how at the end of the 2024 season, it felt like the foundation that the 2021 and 2022 rosters had kind of set had pretty much eroded away now. There's basically no one from those championship rosters that started in those games that's still on the roster. Yeah, you've got some Oscar Delps here, some super seniors, some guys that have come back. But for the most part, the core of that roster, that foundation is gone. Thus, the leadership is gone. You don't have guys that have national title experience there now. So they've kind of had to rebuild this foundation and get the new leadership in board. We talked about it all last year, especially at this time a year ago, of how it was kind of a worry of, it seems like you've got a lot of guys that are being thrust into leadership positions that aren't necessarily comfortable. It looks like they're trying really hard to find guys that actually want to be leaders this year. So that's kind of one of my first takeaways.
I'm just going down the list. We're going to rattle it off.
You want me to keep going, or do you want to?
I'm going to rattle mine all off together. So y'all do show right quick.
Okay.
All right, you go ahead, Joe. We'll go back
First one, they're experimenting at defensive end and edge. This is one of my practice observations that I had of saying, hey, Chris Jones was seen working with the defensive end and the edge group. That's a linebacker that was recruited out of high school, a redshirt freshman this coming year. Seems like he's going to get some work trying to figure out, we asked, where is the depth going to be? Who is going to be playing at these spots? They got 2 true freshmen as well, so you can really see how quick the depth chart shortens up. It seems like they're trying to find some depth there with Chris Jones being added into the mix. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. At number 2, the wide receiver room just looks completely different when you walk out there and see them. I can't express to you guys enough of looking at the wide receiver room ahead of the SEC championship game on the field when they were going through warmups to what they look like now, just by having Noah Thomas out there, just by having CJ Wiley out there, just by having Colby Young back in the mix as well. I mean, it just looks completely different from a size standpoint. It looks like this is a complete wide receiver room. You have all the necessities that you need to be successful at those positions, and you're going to be able to do a lot more with that wide receiver group this year.
I had another one. It seems like more so this year, and obviously it's a product of the transfer portal and everything we've talked about all throughout the show, but it seems like this roster has more questions than usual. What's the offensive line going to look like? Who's going to be your safety position? We think Gunnar Stockton's the quarterback, but what is that going to look like? The wide receiver room, a lot of unproven guys there. The running back room, where's the depth? It seems like every position you turn, there's a lot of question marks. And it's been that way for a while necessarily where, you've got to answer some things come the springtime. It's when things get answered. But it seems like going into this spring in particular, you had a lot more questions than usual. And then the other one I have, it's very clear that Zachariah and Zion Branch are kind of, taking in leadership roles in this team, and I think that's great. But I also kind of think that's a problem. And it's a problem for the aspect of, look, I think we can all kind of assume that if things go well for Zachariah Branch, he's probably going to go to the NFL following the 2025 season. That's just an assumption. He might be here for the long haul. He's NFL eligible after this year. He's probably going to be off of your roster this time next year. We saw the same thing with Trevor Etienne. Trevor Etienne came in and everyone talked about how, wow, he's a very good leader. He's really stepped up in the running back room and reacted accordingly. He's not on that roster anymore. You only got 1 full year of leadership with Trevor Etienne. I think it's more important, and I'm not saying, I don't want Zion and Zachariah to have any involvement on this team. That's not all I'm saying. But I do think it's important that you have grassroots leadership. When you look back at guys like Brock Bowers, Nakobe Deans, all of the leaders that you have from, again, the championship winning rosters, it's guys that were there that cut their teeth, that fully understood the Georgia culture, that were inundated in it, and that were guys that went through and finally got to their shot to where you had, by the time that they were playing, you had this foundation built of it. I don't think you're going to get a stronger foundation with these 1-year hits. As great as they probably are for your program, Trevor Etienne, changed the game for better for you. But I think it's not bad that they're leading. I think it's a problem if they're the only leaders that you have.
I'll say this, and it was in my notes, and this is why I'm going here. Zachariah Branch is the first football player I've ever heard of, high school, transfer, whatever, show up, spend a week there, and then by second week, I'm a guy.
Yeah.
Everyone can look at me. Everyone can listen to me. Everyone is listening to me. I am now a vocal person and a new addition that's already feels like it's been a staple here. You mentioned Trevor Etienne. This was one of these guys, and I think we said this about him last year. It's like, damn, he did this quick. I think last year a little bit more of a vocal leadership void than what we assumed to be this year, even though a guy like Gunner's not, it doesn't seem very outspoken, more of a follow me type of leader. But yeah, Zach Branch is the first guy I've ever heard of that was like, walked in day one, not only was like ready to go and like physically prepared to practice at the University of Georgia, but immediately an impact as well. Most of these guys take a while. They take a good 3 weeks, no matter how talented they are, 3 or 4 weeks, to get used to it. And I'm sure there's still some of that going on, but man, all of the intel coming out right now is that like, hey, this guy's a fucking baller.
Right. And I think as great as that is, it would have been great to have this 2 years ago and let him set that foundation. Have guys that come up and say, man, Zachariah's been doing this for 3 years. I think KJ Bolden is a perfect example of how great this could be. And I feel like it's bad for me to say this because it seems like it's undermining what Zachariah Branch is doing. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. I just wish you had more time to build a foundation within the team.
To your point, it's in my notes. KJ has taken that step of, because first of all, he has to.
Yep.
There's too many moving parts around the safety position right now, which is one of my notes through the first week. They have no earthly idea who's going to play beside KJ Bolden this year, but it's only been a week. And there's promise in the room, but there's no definitive answer. Like this guy's automatically going to be the guy. So there's still a lot of questions beside KJ, but KJ is not a question. There has been multiple leaps from a physical and leadership standpoint from him.
This was the final one that I had, and this was a realization that I had today. And I'm going to say this.
Is it quarterback related?
Well, it is, but it's not related to you, I don't think.
Okay, because I have a note. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get ahead of crisscrossing. Go ahead.
And I hope that Georgia fans prove me wrong on this one. But with the spring news today of it's not going to be televised unless you're at the game, you're not going to actually get to see what's happening on the football field. I feel as if Gunnar Stockton is already doomed because last week we talked about fans' obsession with the unknown. And Ryan Puglisi is the unknown. And we talked about how we haven't seen anything from him other than throwing some balls during warm-ups ahead of games. And you can't really get anything out of that other than, whoa, the ball looks really good coming out of his hands. Gunnar, so you're not going to get to see Ryan Puglisi during the spring game, and so that's going to create even more unknown about Ryan Puglisi going into this season for a lot of football fans, not everybody. So I feel as if Gunnar Stockton's already doomed by this fan base. If there's still going to be this obsession with number 12 might be better than what Gunnar Stockton is doing for us on Saturdays.
Even when Kirby says this right here, even when he goes on 680 and says exactly what I've been saying on this network for the last month, guys, there's still some growth that needs to be had from Ryan Puglisi. Guys, this is a guy who didn't practice a whole ton last year. Guys, this is a guy who didn't play spring ball last year. Guys, this is a football player who still needs to grow a ton. Guys, the other guy's ready to play. Guys, no matter how many times I do this, everybody goes on social media and says, you're an idiot. The other guy's more talented. Well, here's your head coach. Quote, he's a really good baseball player. He's got arm talent. He's got size. He's a competitor. He's one of those guys that really flashed when he was on the scout team. You have a card, you don't have a read, and you just fire away. When he's made some really good throws on the run, he's got a strong arm, but he does have a long way to go in terms of learning exactly what we're asking him to do to command the offense and the volume of the offense. He's getting better at all of those things. He has a long way to go. I've been trying to tell this network for a while and this fan base for a while. Guys, your coach gets to see him. I know this is crazy. This is insane for you to believe that the guy who's won 2 national titles, that gets paid damn near $12 million a year to make sure that they're winning and making the best decisions, he might have the most information. And I know that's crazy of you to believe because Justin Fields one time finished 3rd in the Heisman.
Keep going. He's getting worked up.
It's just, man, and here's the worst part about it. It's the worst part about interacting with these people in the fan base. The same people want Mike Bobo fired. Same people. The worst part about dealing with these people is they think they're right. They think they're right. They think they're right about the Justin Fields thing, despite the fact that Justin Fields is on his 3rd team. His 3rd team, because he can't read a defense. He's still winning on traits. He's still being an athlete that can throw the ball really, really well, but he can't win from the position. The same reason that he chose the guy who could win from the position 8 years ago, when the talented guy who's good athlete, when that guy was 17, 18 years old, the same guy has the same problems at the big league level. And you guys think you're right.
It's always good to see him go on one of those. I feel like we're averaging more of those now.
I think we killed it on Thursday. I don't know if we made the studs rattle like that just happened just now. That's what we miss. That's what we don't get.
The first guy that ever sat in here off camera and like listened to show while I was doing show. Got done. He was like, damn, I didn't realize how loud you said it when you said it. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm in this motherfucker screaming. So yeah, no, dude, no, I will not con down Edwin Jones, because you're the same guy that's probably on Twitter saying the stupid shit that I've had to listen to for 6 years now, and the head coach has had to listen to for 8 years now, going on 9, going on 10. Shit.
Any other takeaways?
Yeah, Elijah Griffin, Juan Gaston, Ethan Barbour are the 3 names of freshmen that I'm constantly hearing about.
Ooh,
2 of them because they're freaky as shit. The other one because he's a professional already. Juan Gaston, Elijah Griffin, freaks. Okay, guaranteed freaks. They're playing like they were recruited to be. Juan, way more than, Georgia had high expectations on Juan Gaston, way higher than the rest of the industry. I think he finished as a top 175 guy. Blasphemous. Should have been inside the top 20, in my opinion. Okay, should have been in that discussion for OT1 last year across everybody's board, not just mine. He comes to Georgia, stamped, looks like he's going to be the guy. After him, Elijah Griffin playing great in camp. Now, Ethan Barbour is a guy that I've heard about not only practicing like a professional, not only prepared to get loose already as a tight end, as a freshman, but not just asking questions. Asking questions is important. Asking the right questions all the time is Ethan Barbour. Ethan Barbour, blown away so far by the early results from him.
That's promising, because those are all at positions where you've kind of needed some guys. You needed some a security blanket. Not, and I'm not saying they're going to come in and play this year, but knowing that in the future there's depth that's being built to that position. Hopefully it stays within the team, but it's a good sign right now.
And I think it's especially good about Ethan Barbour, hearing that specific thing about him, because knowing what the tight end room is right now and knowing that Elias Williams was the headliner of the group, trying to figure out like what is Ethan's role going to be on this football team moving forward, like how is he going to be the guy that cracks the lineup with all these studs in the mix. It's doing those types of things of always being in the right spot, knowing what you're supposed to do, and treating this game as a profession.
I left a lot off of that I gave to the Patreon audience this morning. They got part 1. Part 2 will be coming out defensively either after tonight's show or in the morning, depending on how late people are up today. I don't like to assume everybody's up at 10 p.m., even though I am. So there's that. We'll be giving out defensive-laden notes tomorrow on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. If you want to stay up to date with the most important intel in the Georgia spectrum, it's over there on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Also, a tremendous Discord over there as well. So if you want to be joined and connected to some like-minded Georgia fans, that's the place to be. Some news today. Are we done with spring notes?
I believe so.
I think we're good on that. Week 1. Let's move on. Some news today. Spring game not going to be televised. I get it to an extent. Obviously, this is him worried about the roster, right? We're worried about advertising our backups. I'm here to tell Kirby and any fan listening today, somebody at Wake Forest, for example, doesn't need to see a spring game to know that your backups are better than their starters. You're the University of Georgia. You've recruited in the top 3 the last 7 years. Okay, so your roster's better than mine. I don't need to see it on national television to know that for a fact. I should probably be trying to poach your backups anyways. I should just look on our lads and go, oh shit, that 4-star that we were never even close to landing out of high school, he's still sitting on the bench over there at Georgia. We might want to give him a call. Yeah,
and that's kind of, in a much more dramatic sense, I talked about this a little while ago, of like, this isn't going to stop anything. And even if they did want to do advanced scouting, it's still open to the public. You can still, and again, I reference Connor Stallions every time, you can have people go to this game and watch it undercover and say, okay, so-and-so's a really good player. So-and-so looked really good in this game. We should pursue them. And again, like you said, they're all going to be better than your roster, so the poaching aspect isn't necessarily something you're going to mitigate that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand. I felt like this was eventually going to happen with how things were shifting with spring games and what other decisions were being made. I think that more than anything, just be happy that they are still having one as of right now. It being televised, I know it takes away a lot of things, but you have to understand that this is a business and you had to do the right thing for your business.
I also have a theory on this. I think that this is just something coaches have wanted to get done with for a while now, simply because of dealing with the TV aspect is another thorn in their side. You guys probably haven't. I don't know if you've watched TV copies, but sometimes in the free time, they're doing like mid-game interviews with the head coaches, and they're going out and say, "Oh, coach, what do you think about this season?" While he's trying to coach up a game, like that shit. They don't want to do that. They could care less if this thing was televised, and the fact that they could have to, answer 3 or 4 less interviews or have to deal with cameras in their face, all that. Kirby Smart's probably like, yeah, sign me up. Sorry to the rest of the people. 96,000. It also benefits the people coming and forces you to put your asses in seats. I know we've all been to many of G-Day games in our lives, and after the first quarter, when the ones start rotating out, people head straight to downtown to where so you get to about. Even halftime, there's only about 30,000 people in that stadium. So now knowing the fact that you're not going to have this opportunity to go downtown and see the rest of the game in the bars, or once you leave that stadium, you're not seeing any more football for the rest of that day, people might stay a little longer.
Yeah. I mean, ESPN's not going to be there. What stops us from putting a camera in the box? Just general courtesy to the guy that we cover.
General courtesy, probably.
Yeah.
Because that's the worst part about this, at least for our network. There's going to be no spring film. We're not going to be able to break down the spring game like we do every year. There's nothing here. We're not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to be able to come back on Monday and tell you everything that I saw, but that's it. I mean, we'll do live updates on SI.com, and you'll be able to keep up with that, but I highly doubt they're going to allow us to film anything in there.
I'd be shocked if they did.
It'll be B-roll footage rules. I guarantee it.
You don't think some fan is going to be the one guy to do it?
I mean, that's fine. Record the whole thing.
I bet someone would do it.
You think someone's going to live stream from the damn stadium?
I don't know if the live stream.
There'll be someone live streaming.
I guarantee it. And it'll be shatty footage.
Oh, yeah. It's not going to be great.
No. I'm fine with it. I've always said, like, if I were running a program, I'd do it the same exact way. Like, to hell with the media. I'm reading that Saban book, like I said. I don't think he has hatred for anybody in this world. Seems like a pretty wholesome dude. He hates the media. I mean, just by the way he speaks about them. He thinks we're varmint. You know what I mean? It's just like the worst humans on earth.
What is he now?
Traitor.
He's done joined the dark side.
Yeah, a little pot and kettle.
Can't even say shit on TV.
I know.
FCC's coming for him.
By the way, what a great segment you two put together on that one. Your cussing during it sent me. I was laughing my ass off. So good job on that one. Yeah, no spring film sucks on this.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Taking a drone.
How many drones are going to be flying over Sanford Stadium for this game?
You will not be getting that drone back, so be cautious.
Yeah, you think the snipers are on top of the roofs during the normal game day.
Try and flown one of them drones.
Someone's going to get hit with a tranquilizer dart from the 7th row. In the neck! In the neck!
The heat must have got him. Take him to the bed.
It'll still be happening. I'm going to, you know what? Over under, we see how many. What's the line we're putting for drones at the G-Day game next month?
1.5.
I'm going 2.
You're going 2?
I'm going 2 flat. I'm hammering over on that.
We had our first injury of the season.
Bad news.
Yeah.
And probably our first, hey, son, come on in my office.
Oh, boy.
Of the spring. Tyler Williams underwent surgery to repair ligaments in his ankle, an ankle injury that he obviously suffered during practice. How quickly do you think Kirby Smart called him into his office and was like, hey, son, let's not put out injury information on your Instagram live feed?
Probably 0.5 seconds after his thumb touched the send button.
I bet it was right after we released the article. I bet it was, how in the hell did they know that information? That just happened. Coach, he's got a photo of him on his Instagram feed. His what? Get your ass in here.
I'm sure that was a quick phone call from James Coley of, you might want to come over to the facilities here, buddy. We got something to talk about.
We're going to need you in Coach's office pretty quickly. Am I being cut? Close. It was a close call. Yeah, there is a lesson to be learned here, I would imagine.
You better be glad your ankle's hurt, or else you'd be running stadiums.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, he'll be running them when it gets better. Don't worry.
I'm healthy, coach. Good. Go over to
Sanford.
It looked a lot bigger in photos than I thought he was going to show up as.
Yeah. I didn't know who it was when I was taking photos of him. I was like, who is this number 13 guy?
It definitely wasn't Michael Jackson. You'd have noticed that one.
Yeah.
Boy, Michael Jackson got a lot bigger during his time at the University of Georgia, and Not in the good way. You know? Not in the good way.
Did he end up? Where did he end up going?
Nowhere.
He's still in the portal. He's Jaden Rashada.
Yeah.
Y'all come take a stab at me in May. See if you want me then.
Damn.
Kind of deal. I'm going to keep training, though. Marchese?
Ah, yes.
Now, how would you like to pronounce Brady's last name? Georgia got to commit out of Cartersville. Brady Marchese from Cartersville, Georgia.
From everything I've heard, it is Marchese.
Ah, boo!
I like Marquez.
But I don't mind Brandon Marchese from Cartersville.
No, it's Marchese.
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 From Cartersville.
Marchese.
This reminds me of the scene in Inglourious Bastards when they're trying to convince people they're Italian.
Oh,
Antonio Margaretti.
Margaret. We got another super chub, and we're going to the board anyways. So let's go to the board. Check out Brady Marchese's film study. Let's do it.
Impeccable timing.
Who we got it from? Michael Moser. Shout out Michael Moser. Appreciate you, my boy. We got a super chub from Michael Moser.
Oh no, he's gonna do it the rest of the show.
Michael Moser on the board. You know the deal. Any super chubs get put up on the board. Anything north of $20. Let's take a look at this here film study. Now, I'm going to tell you what. This dude's yoked.
Is he?
If you've seen photos of this guy, he is jacked, okay? Spent some time in the weight room, to say the least. Got good muscle genetics as well. I expect to see a little screening go right here. We're going to take this one to the crib.
Oh, yeah. You'll pick up real quick on this film of what is being showcased.
We got some juice.
Oh, yeah.
We got some I Ain't Some White Boy tape, huh?
Yes.
All right, we got some I Ain't Some White Boy tape. I love that.
He's got the posture of Brock Bowers when he runs.
Interesting.
Watch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we got some juicy juice, Bubba. Yeah, he does. He does have some high and tight like tiki.
It's like a Brock and Ladd mix.
All right, I am going to say it, though. Quicker than fast.
Yeah.
Quicker than fast.
He actually has his miles per hour clocked in on the beginning of the highlight reel.
What are they, 22.8?
Oh, my.
Yeah, I think there was a 22 on there.
Just dusted that kid.
Oh, yeah.
He almost thought about high pointing that football. Did you see that, Kirby? His hands come up as he slows down for the football. He's thinking about high pointing it, realizes right now he's about to high point. He realizes guys not close. We saw that.
Hit the jump.
And the hands were coming up, too. I love that. We are just, and knowing that, hey, we can actually run under this one or at least slow down. The DB's not close enough.
Yeah, really.
This is against North Oconee right here. Double move on the front side safety. We're cribbing that? Oh, yeah, we're cribbing that. Okay. I do think we're faster 0 to 20 than we are 20 to 40, which is okay. It's a slot receiver projection, no doubt about it. This isn't a Z. I think he's about 5'11", isn't he, Jonathan? About 5'11", 190 pounds. Now, what's interesting is, that's a good high point. I saw Cartersville last year on my spring tour. They had a slot receiver that I think ended up going to Georgia Tech or Ole Miss, one or the other. It was really, really good. I think ended up Georgia Tech. Coaches didn't bring me this guy. Now, maybe he's been at Cartersville the whole time and just kind of popped onto the scene last year. But no, this wasn't one of those, hey, 12's going to be a guy. You know, I hear that all the time. There's a Duluth corner that's a top 100 player that I heard about as a freshman. Hey, if we can just get this guy to stay in class, he's going to be great. Here he is, top 200 player right now. Good hole shot right here, make a move on the safety.
That's a more impressive throw. I mean, great route, great run, but
is that Landon Roldan? He
one
just
of
put
them
on
is.
The turf. No, that's number 5. That's not Landon. Homeboy can run.
How many points were scored in this game with Landon Roland and
Marchese?
They line him up at the Z a good bit.
Classic 3-star U, though. You know, Georgia digging into the barrel for them 3 stars.
Well, they can't get the 5 stars.
Yeah, can't get the 5 stars. Oh!
Goodbye.
Yeah. I like this. I like this a lot. Good slot receiver. This is like a juicy Cole Spear. You know what I mean?
Spicy spear.
Like a juicy Cole Spear.
Spicy spear.
Spicy Spear? Oh! Should have been on the front of the highlight,
I know, that's
baby.
what I was about to say.
Should have been on the front of the highlight. What are we doing? Burying the lead.
Clip?
Burying the lead. We got a high point here. Oh! Run through a motherfucker's face.
That's honestly the smartest player. He noticed he was getting man, tried to run him off, and then finally just...
You know what I want to say, don't you? Light show, Johnny. Light show, Johnny.
Only true fans get the reference.
If you know, you know. Who are we going to this year? That's my question. What are we going to circle this year? We got to circle a foosball game.
We're going to find one.
Hopefully there's a good South Georgia ball game when we go down to Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. You know?
I do hope that Jared Curtis is not on a bye when we head up to Knoxville.
Oh, yeah. I got to see him sling the pill.
Yeah.
Like through middle school and like 10 years ago, like
live for.
If you didn't go to the Elite 11, like what are you doing? You're killing your recruiting stock, I guess is the term for it. But
it tanked Gunnar Stockton's.
Yeah,
it tanked George McIntyre's last year.
Yes, it did.
If you don't go to the Elite 11, it's like, oh, he's hiding something. He's not that good. Now it's kind of like, I don't need the Elite 11. It's interesting. The narrative's changed on it, unfortunately.
Yeah, hit that YouTube refresh over there.
It gave me a reconnecting for a second.
Yeah,
so
I think we just buzzed out for a second. Lost it over on Twitter for a second as well. So that's the Marchese film study. Let's talk about Jared Curtis. I hope he enjoys me saying his name like that. I highly doubt he does. But anyways, let's talk about Jared Curtis. He was in town this weekend for a big-time unofficial visit. Now, Jonathan, will you do me a favor while I'm talking about this? Will you check his 24/7 profile and see if he has actual OV dates set?
Yes.
He does, or we don't know?
I want to say he does, but I'm checking.
Because these are unofficial visits to his 2 final schools. And everything I've heard says that this guy's about to pop within the month. I heard before April's out, this will be done. So it seems like he's on the precipice of committing. Does he have OVs?
Right now he has an official to Oregon on June 6th, and then he will be at Georgia on June 12th.
I'm under the impression that he'll be done and committed before then. And I mean, he had his official visits. He spent 3 days in Oregon on his own dime, we're told, and 3 days in Athens on his own dime. So he's had his OVs. They treated it like an OV. They had very important meetings at both spots, all right, with the intentions to be done with this within the next month. What's up?
When it gets to that, where the prospect does basically everything out of their own pocket, what does the OV become at that point? Just a formality? I mean, just like you said, it's just basically the official visit without the label official.
So what I assume this is for him to go on that OV as a commit.
Well,
that's a totally different vibe for everybody else that's on their OV if the 5-star quarterback's committed while you're there on your OV.
You have to remember, too, that he set these official visits dates when he had a top 5. Yeah. Like, there's still one for Auburn. There's still one for South Carolina. Those people have been cut from the list now. It's just Georgia and Oregon. Yeah. So you almost have to treat this as if they don't exist.
Yeah, I think those OVs were probably a formality. Like I said, I think the only one that's probably going to get one is who he commits to over the next month. So let's talk about the actual visit. Everything that I've heard, and again, there's more of this on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. We're here to give you the Cliff Notes today. Sounds to me like Mama loves Georgia. Sounds to me that Jared loves Georgia. I mean, if you remember, Jared Curtis committed to Georgia, 2 or 3 days after a visit to watch practice this time last year.
Yep.
So he loves Georgia. Sounds like Mama does too. Also sounds to me like at both trips, Oregon and Georgia, Dad is very close to the vest. Dad does not show any emotion. Dad, a very blue-collar man. I think Dad's a lifetime electrician. Like, this isn't somebody who, has been around football his whole life. Dad was a blue-collar worker. I don't know quite what Mom does, but this isn't like some guy who knew from day one his son was going to be this. You know what I mean? This is a guy who's a common man like everybody else. So I don't think he's one to show much of his emotions in general. But yeah, hard to really, really read Dad right now. I know that Georgia is not going to overpay, but they will pay what it takes. That's kind of what I've been told. If he ends up at Oregon, I don't think it's going to be because Oregon doubled his money or Oregon blew Georgia's offer out of the water. I think Georgia's going to be very competitive with what they can do for Curtis, because I do believe they believe in him like this. I think they think this guy's very, very special. If there's anybody to, quote unquote, break the mold at Georgia with regards to we don't negotiate, this might be a good one to do it with. Okay, they do this every once in a while. I felt like they broke their code of ethics, if you will, in terms of spending for a player like KJ Bolden. I think they're willing to do it every once in a while. I think they're going to be willing to do it here. Like I said, if it's going to be Oregon, it's not going to be because Oregon paid double based off everything that I've heard. If he goes to Oregon, it's because he wants to go to Oregon. I think Georgia feels like they left this weekend as the leader, but I probably think Oregon felt that way after last weekend. So right now, it seems to me that everything's going to be done within the month. And if I had to pick it today, I would barely pick Georgia.
You said something in that rant that kind of perked my ears up. You said that Georgia won't overpay, but they'll pay what it takes.
Yeah.
Is that mean that their approach in recruiting Jared Curtis has been different from necessarily what it's been before? Because, I mean, Georgia's kind of made themselves known that we're not going to be the school that dishes out millions and millions of dollars for you. We're going to give you what we think is appropriate, but we're not ever going to overpay. Whereas it necessarily seems, obviously, the quarterback market for recruits has gotten more and more inflated here.
Yeah.
Have they kind of expanded their budget for Jared Curtis?
Well, you have to remember, Kirby, that there are expectations in the higher-ups that in the next month, House vs. NCAA is going to be settled. Deloitte's going to start getting involved with these NIL deals. There's going to be some type of minimum regulation. At minimum, there's going to be some type of regulation here. Now, I personally believe that Deloitte's going to get thrown into so many lawsuits that they're going to lose their mind. I think from what I've heard from people that I trust in the world of college football, Deloitte's going to come out with an iron fist, be very, very strict about what is allowed and what is not allowed. They're going to get thrown into courts for a lot of, hey, you can't tell me what I'm worth type of lawsuits. They will then settle down on some of this stuff. But the first initial interaction from Deloitte will be swift and it will be stern. There is no bullshit going on with us. Lawsuits will follow. We'll let some of the bullshit slide.
So they'll just basically become the NCAA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Deloitte company is going to be the sole determining factor on what can and can't happen on the NIL front.
And they'll eventually just continue to surrender power until we say, there's no governing body here. We need
something like that. Yeah, the people who prayed for governance, all the coaches bitching about their world being corrupted by NIL and all the freedom and praying for people to actually help them. Those same people will then throw Deloitte into lawsuits because they didn't get the 5-star that they wanted. Yeah, that's how this works. Yeah.
I guess my question around this recruitment, and this Jared Curtis just falls in this example, but there's been multiple players from I would say Ryan Puglisi was one of these as well, of high school football team doesn't really play a high level competition. How do you go about evaluating that as a college football team like Georgia, of knowing, like, are these things going to translate to the football field that we're putting him on, or is it truly just a bet on traits?
So this is kind of tying into Josh Armstrong's question here. Kirby and the boys, can we get a comparison between a player like Bo Bentley and Jared Curtis and whether Curtis's price tag is worth it? This is obviously based on the premise that we could even sign Bo Bentley. He's talking about Georgia, obviously. Here's the thing about going to that board right here and breaking down Jared Curtis's tape. It's all lying to you. What these guys are willing to pay for Jared Curtis, both Oregon and Georgia right now, and basically everybody else that got cut out of it, they were willing to throw everything at him too. Bless you. They're doing it off of what they've seen from the arm in person. I have been told this arm in person, it's undoubtable. You have to throw the money at it. Whatever the tag is, this guy's worth it. You have to do it because the arm is that.
Okay.
And I can't tell you that because I've never gone and done it and seen it in person.
Yeah.
But you know how I am about these arm talents. If it were like this, I'd come back and be like, give the kid whatever the fuck he wants.
All right, here's my next question on that. We hear so much about arm talent. That's why they're great prospects. That's why they're must-haves. That's why, there's the Heisman hype leading into. And it seems yet the reason that so many of these arm talent guys don't start is because of the issues they have between the ears. Have coaches and recruits not necessarily learned that, yes, the arm talent can be great, but it's the eval of being able to read defenses and run the specific offense that you need that ultimately makes it most important to what that quarterback needs to be for your team? Yeah,
I've always said we base quarterback evals off of physical traits when 90% of the position is played off of intangibles. Correct. First and foremost, the things that we can't measure about leadership, who you are as a person, your day-to-day habits, your decision-making on and off the field, within the building. Are you a leader? Things like that. And decision-making within the pocket. Like, are you seeing the field correctly? Are you reading and collecting the information that you're supposed to and coming out with the correct output? That stuff will never be judged off of a film study. That stuff will never be judged off of a workout in shorts and T-shirts. I would pray to God they got the kid on the board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I get him on the board and he can talk football and he comes from a background where they're actually diagnosing coverages, they're not pick and stick, they're full-field reads, or at least have some sense of progression, I feel a little bit better about him if he can actually talk football.
Yeah. I would just wish to hear that more justifications for recruits when it's like, hey, this guy understands his shit. He knows football. Like, I feel like I've heard a million, you got to see this arm. It's unreal. And then they get on the field and, yeah, the arm's great, but everything else that requires him to be a good quarterback isn't really there. So that's kind of just my question.
Jacob Eason type chooch. In my mind, as an evaluator, Eason was the biggest arm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I thought Eason could make every throw in the book and throw it on a line. I did not feel like he was the most talented thrower of the football.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right.
I don't think he could do the off platform stuff.
Mm-mm.
I thought when his cleats were in the ground, he had 105 ready for you, or Aroldis Chapman type smoke. This guy's a different level of arm talent. It's way too often repeated, especially in this circuit, but it is Matt Stafford. That's what people say it is that have seen it.
You got a super chub.
I do. I see that. I wanted to wrap a button on this one. My boy, PMC Jordan. Shout out to PMC Jordan. Love the show. Thanks for the work you guys put in. It's going up on the board in big letters. I might even underline this one, PMC Jordan. I do think that sounds to me like there is a rev share pool, right, that they're preparing for these athletes. And then there is we got to go out and crowdsource the rest of your salary for some of these players. I think that behooves Georgia, whereas used to, we just had to come up with $1.5 million, for example. I'm not saying that's the number. I don't know what the number is. We had to come up with $1.5 million. Well, now a quarter of that, or $100,000 or $250,000 of that might be solved through the rev share model. I don't know what the caps are going to be set off that, right? You have $15 million, Georgia, next year to put into their roster off of the $20.5 million. We've reported that here on the network. So I don't know if of that $15 million in rev share, can you give 1.5 of it to one in particular player, or is it capped per individual? If it's capped per individual, they'll give a portion of the rev share to that athlete, and then they will have to crowdsource through real NIL means off the field deals to get that kid to that number that they are seeking. One more time on that name for me.
PMC Jordan.
PMC Jordan. Shout out to PMC Jordan. I told you I'm going to give you an underline. We gave you the underline. Shout out to man. That's underneath the board, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's all right.
Dang. Put us in 2. Is it there? Oh, we're zoomed. Y'all about to find out the real ins and outs. Wrong camera there, Chief.
No, it's the right camera. I'll just do this.
Yeah, we got cool cameras in here. Can we see him? He's over here.
There we go.
Yeah, we got him. Shout out PMC Jordan. Whoa. Shout out PMC Jordan. Shout out to my Brody right there next to Mundangerous. Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but I don't see no other YouTube accounts out here rolling around with cameras like these, dog. These is 100,000 sub cameras around these parts. You know what I mean? We need to get to that point right there. Oh.
Easy. Just break something?
Big Badonkus just hit the desk.
Yo.
We said we'd be brief. Shout out to them Hoop Dogs, man. First time since 2015.
I was testing y'all. I was going to see if we actually followed through this.
We did it.
This one.
They did it, dude.
Hoop Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Play Gonzaga on Thursday.
Yeah, a little dog on dog action.
Maybe we don't say that, but respect to the Hoop Dogs for actually making it happen. There were some points in this season where it was like, Mike White might get fired.
No.
Damn if they're not on the team.
Extend Mike White.
He had something for you guys.
Yeah, I'm going to let y'all talk about Georgia basketball because I'm not allowed to. You know, the 17 Georgia football or basketball fans that have watched them since 2005, they have deemed me unable to give opinions about Georgia basketball. So go ahead.
I think the thing that the Georgia basketball thing is they just want something to be excited for. Because now they're in the tournament and there's excitement around the program. There's some real, not expectations, but buzz around it. And I think when you have these teams that, like what Mike White teams typically did early in the midway through the regular season of start really strong, shit the bed in the second half, it was like, oh, this is the frustrating part. I don't think they necessarily expected greatness, but they just wanted something to be excited for, and they got it this year.
I'll say this. I'll leave you with a little stat at the end of this, too. I think that there is just some excitement of the fact that Georgia made the dance. We are satisfied now. And that was kind of the expectation of this season for Mike White is we need to make the postseason. We need to make the NCAA tournament. And you won 4 straight SEC games to close out the season to get to the 20-win mark to get yourself a spot. Not only that, but you went from the first 4 out into a 9 seed. Woo! You get to play Gonzaga, and I know the matchup. It's not favorable, blah, blah, blah. Mike White has never lost in the round of 64.
Talk to him, Jay Will.
5-0.
Talk to him, Jay Will. 6.5-point dogs to the dogs.
Don't care.
Watch out now. Mike White with a heater. Can they get Houston?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Let's take it one step at a time.
Should we drive to Wichita?
If it had been anywhere else.
Right. That's
I can't go. I have class on Friday.
You know, but people in the beat are going to, subtweet us sarcastically about not being there in attendance. So can we live with that?
This is some deep.
Can we live with that?
Athletics.
Are we going to take that?
This is some deep Georgia athletics.
I think I can evaluate basketball from my house.
I don't know, man. Shout out you guys being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. We will be back tomorrow night here live on the network. Appreciate you guys for being here, man, for real. We got a long way to go, and I'm excited to go on that